I had to meet up with Pruitt real quick this morning before I drove over here. And I was like, I don't know, does Ryan have like a format? And he was like, no. He's like, you just shoot the shit. And I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of my plan for this new show as well. Similar style.
Like just more. I think we talked about it last time I was up there, and you were saying like you just are interested in a lot more than just comedy. So you had the idea of like,
kind of just opening because we kind of intentionally boxed ourselves in with Talking Bits. You know, it's a show about stand up, and so it kind of limits your guests. You know, not everybody which in some cases it wouldn't, because I think stand-up tends to be a little more metaphorical for a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
But there's conversations I want to have. Like, I know a guy who's like a psychology guru. He's written a couple books. He's got like a vacation house in Key West. He's like a kind of a big deal to talk to. And I don't feel comfortable having that conversation under a sign.
He's
that
like,
says,
why am I
talking bits? You know? Right.
He's like, I have a PhD. Like, you get rid of this fucking sign.
100%. 100%. So this new space is, you know, I mean, it's still a podcast studio, so it's still eclectic is maybe a good word for it, but it's me, and I feel a little more comfortable in that space. And it's this one is just me, so I don't have
so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
I mean, because as a person I played in bands for forever, and it's like as soon as you need one other person to come every time, it's like, just forget it, you know?
Right.
Any flexibility you wanted to have, like, now it's just the guest, you know? You bring the other thing, but I can kind of just schedule it on my own.
Exactly.
If I had to ask a third person to be here, like, we probably still wouldn't be here.
Scheduling is a huge thing, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I adore Michael, and I love him, and we have a good relationship outside of the show anyway, so that's going to continue, hopefully. But, you know, on the flip side of that, it's like, it is tough to do a show with a guy who's not doing what the show's about.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight against him. He has a family and a career.
Yeah.
Very demanding, both of those things.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm like, let's fuck around, you know? Let's just have some fun on stage, and he can't do that.
I support him because I have a family and a career, and it's insane to be doing any of this silly shit. But on the other hand, it's like everybody at work like only does that, and I'm like, and they're like, we're gonna go out to the brewery, and I'm like, I don't want to. I already hang out with you guys more than my family.
Oh, it's terrible.
Like, I go out and hang out with these weirdos.
Yeah.
We make no money.
No, we're losing. We're hemorrhaging money.
We're definitely hemorrhaging money, and but it's for the weird art of it, and I love that. Like, the older and balder I get, the more I'm like, I need some impractical weird shit still. Yeah. Because like I used to be in bands with all these people. Like, at my age, like, no one is left that does weird shit.
Right.
You know?
I think you
like
need
4
some
guys
delusion.
Left. Me, Pruitt, Art.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You just need delusion sometimes.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's nobody more delusional than a room full of stand-up comics.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is absolutely full of shit.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. This podcast is about that too. We get in here, we do this very low stakes.
Sure. What's the home planet? What's the source there? I'm sure you've said it 1,000 times, but
I don't know if I ever have actually. Like, when I had my first guest on, Gavin, I was like, I had some like 3 titles. One was like 1 Inch Punch, and one was Home Planet. And he was like, well, I like that it's kind of sci-fi. I just wanted something simple that sounds good. I've named a lot of bands and things like Too Complicated, and people are like, what is it again?
Sure.
So I wanted something simple, but then also was the idea that like it's just like, we don't have to be funny. It's like we just talk. Like, on stage you got to be funny, but here it's like you just be at home. So the idea that it's like just the real kind of shit, you know?
Of course.
And then
it's kind of funny you say that too, like with trying to be funny on it, because I know and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying so, we've had another comic, Jared Hazen, on.
Yeah, I want to get him. He's on my list too.
I love him. Jared would be great in here. He's great, and he has come on Talking Bits several times over the years, and he's great on the mic, and every single time it's over, he's like, damn, I was just getting funny. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do it's not stage, like you said, that pressure. So hopefully with this new venture, that kind of eliminates that as well. Right. I want to just get to know you and talk. And if you're a stand-up, that's probably what we're going to talk about the whole time, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I find the laughs are better when we're not trying harder. That's kind of my like I approach this more like music, where it's like sometimes when you're outside of a mic and like everybody's just like trying so hard to be funny, I'm just like, I stepped outside because we're trying too hard in there. Like, that's what we do. So the idea that you don't try, but then funny things happen, but they're like more genuinely funny.
Exactly.
Because we're not like just like on stage, just like the desperation. It's been 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds with no laughs, and you're like, fuck,
panic. Is there anything worse than standing outside a comedy club and some guy's trying to run bits on you? Like,
it's always the person. It's like it's their third time ever being at a comedy thing, and they're like so desperate to like try to be part of it.
Shut up, dude.
And you're just like, dude,
like, shut up.
Yeah, if you want to be part of this, like, just quit. You shouldn't even be talking.
Also, at some point in our trajectory with stand-up, we're both guilty of that.
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not even that long ago,
totally.
to be honest.
Oh yeah. And I'm still doing things now that like a few years from now I'll be like, fuck. I mean, even when I watch like the first 10 podcasts, I'm like,
Yep. I can't. Now, that's one thing that's kind of different with me and Michael. I think he sometimes will go back and listen to our episodes. I can't do it.
You just put them up. I love it. Yeah, just get it up.
I don't want. Occasionally, I will. Like if we're having a guy like Pruitt has been on, I think 6 times or 7 times or something. Yeah. I'll go back and listen to the last 1 or 2 just to remember because we've talked about the same thing 7 times. Like that's more for research.
That's the thing. Like just with my guests, I notice I'll say the same things.
Sure.
And I'm really trying hard to not say anything to you today that I've said like 9,000 times. But it's going to happen. There's going to be like, I'm going to make this point, and then there's a part of my brain that's like, you're becoming that old dude that says the same things. But so that's part of the challenge too, is how do you talk for hundreds of hours without repeating yourself?
I don't know if you can. And I think somebody one time, I've had this conversation before, and the person said, everybody has like 10 things to talk about.
Right.
And then you're out.
Yeah.
So when you do, whatever, you're on like, episode 80 or something?
This is 109.
109. Wow, good for you.
Yeah. I went crazy there for a minute.
You did.
And with not having a co-host, if you want to crank them out quicker, you can.
That's true.
But I'm actually back to 1 a week now because it got a little out of control. I get a little like...
What was
I
like
can get
top
intense.
speed? Were you doing 3 a
I
week?
was doing like 2 to 3 a week last summer because I was just like...
That's a lot.
I love it. Like I'm getting ideas for bits. I'm into this. This is like I'm holding a mic. I'm getting more time in. But the thing is, I schedule like 2 or 3 months out. So then I would schedule ones when I was excited, and then I'd find myself in the middle of my kid's softball season, and all of a sudden there's all this crazy shit at work, and I'm like, okay, this is getting to be.
Yeah.
But then luckily, 1 out of 3 stand-ups cancel everything.
Oh, 2 out of 3 maybe. Yeah,
2 out of 3. 3 out of 3 stand-ups will cancel.
It took me about 6 months to get in the place to record for this new show, but I'm ready now. And already I've had my first 2 booked guests canceled. Literally, I'm like, I waited 6 months and now 2 canceled, which is fine. I mean, these are actual real circumstances. But stand-ups are the worst.
I mean, I can tell that about you. I think anyone that runs a Don't Tell or runs a show is already like, you're not the average. Like you can probably reply to an email and the sentences are like readable. Yeah. And if you say you're going to do something, you'll probably do it.
You got it.
A lot of my absolute favorite artists are the one can't do any of that shit.
A true artist.
And it's like, like, but if they show up to the stage, it's probably going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you seem like you kind of maybe have like a job, like you can sort of like
I have a job. Yeah.
And you like can keep one and like show up consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so rare.
It's rare
in the arts world.
Right. Yeah. So I go back and forth on this, and I've had this same discussion where it's like, what is it about stand-up? And I think music is very similar too. And it's like,
same.
It attracts degenerates for whatever like degenerate artists, and most of them. And there's a couple that come to mind. I won't say their names out of just to avoid hurting anybody's face. But there's a few that I go, if I knew you outside of stand-up, I would think you are the biggest piece of shit of all time. Whether it's, what your
it's
relationship
only saving
with your
grace is like, you're like, this person's a piece of shit outside, and then they get up and do a set, and you're like, all right, I'm going to have to forego. I'm going to have to like be...
Right.
I don't know if I want them to come to my house or not. We might have to find another location.
Exactly. I mean, there's stand-ups. There's so many of them are addicts, or they, whatever. They don't see. You find out 3 years after you meet this person. Oh, I have 4 kids that live in another state, and I never see them. You're like,
right.
I think you're a monster if I didn't love you so dearly.
Yeah,
already.
Right. Multiple stand-up friends that are close to me. I've gone to a show. This happened more than once. I'm like, you're on the show. You weren't on the flyer, and they're like, well, I'm paid my child support in a long time, and if I'm on a flyer, feel like the cops might come.
That's the most Asheville shit I've ever heard.
And then like it happened with a different comic. I was, this is a reoccurring thing. Like
that's crazy.
And both of them are, I mean, just the funny, like the most genius. I'm like, I don't know that I could ever do any. Like when it's on, it's so great. And I mean, I almost think that's more the natural way to be. Is like we're kind of animals, and I've like learned to be a high functioning, responsible adult.
Sure.
And sometimes I feel like my art probably suffers because of it. Honestly, if I was just like in the gutter and pulled the needle out of my arm and got up, like like I'd probably be funnier, you know.
Well, yeah, and I go back and forth on this one a lot because you've had Justin Mays on already. Haven't you?
Yeah.
Shout out to Justin, my boy. I love him so much.
He's great.
We talk on the phone all the time, and he is right now at a point in his life where he's on the road a lot, and he's really got no ties to any specific location. So if he gets an opportunity, he just goes.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that is so envious of him. And then there's a part of me that goes, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a lease, I have a committed relationship, I have family, I have a job, I have these things that I can't do that. And I teeter back and forth on whether it's like, is it a chain tying me down, or is it actually really good for me? Because I know left to my own devices, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. No, I relate to all that. I think it's both. I think it's like a weird balance. And as you get older, it's like it becomes less cool to be a fucking just not like, you know, have your shit together. Like if you're in your 20s and you fucking wreck, it's kind of like that's fine.
That's what it's for, kind of.
Yeah. With each decade, it's like So I have that jealousy too, but I mean, I don't think I could really even be doing this if I didn't. Like my family gives me the stability.
Exactly.
Because stand-up is like, you know. Sure. People might be like, you're getting on a lot of shows, but you know, it's like, well, but I'm fucking still crazy inside. And of course I'm focused on the one I bombed at, or like, you know, not the spots I didn't get. So it's, it's like, it can drive you so crazy. I mean, most people end up quitting just because they're frustrated.
Of course.
So it's
so many.
Yeah. So the family kind of like life actually, I think helps me.
Does do your kids give an absolute shit about anything at all, stand-up related? Do they care at all?
They actually think it's really amazing, which is I have a 13-year-old, and like every day I'm like waiting for her to like look different when she comes home and be like, I don't ever like, they want to hear me joke around and stuff.
That's different.
So yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's definitely the day's coming.
Right. Well, I hear big comics talk all the time about how their kids don't give a shit, and that keeps them grounded. Yeah. You know, but if your kids are gassing you up all the time, that might be dangerous.
I think it's the same because it's like a big comic. Their family is like living in the shadow of that, so they have to be like, fuck that. But then when your dad's like a very low level regional comic, then it's like, I'm basically on their level. Like when they draw a picture and they're like, let's put it on the fridge, I'm like, that's the level that I'm at.
That's comedy. Yeah. Well, let me say this too, and I'm not going to do this the whole time, but I do. A lot of people know that I'm coming here today, and everyone who hears your name adores you. People love you so much. Yes, that's absolutely. Nice. And that's people who, comics who have been on this podcast before. I've talked to a few, and comics that haven't, comics that just know you through show. I mean, you're honestly one of the few comics that when you leave the room, nobody's ever like, fuck that guy. You know what I mean?
It's got to be because they don't.
Somebody's out there.
I'm sure in Asheville.
That's true.
I've been here long enough and done enough things to where I'm sure someone.
I don't get over
hope
here.
Someone is. I'm like, if there's not someone that's like, fuck Ryan Cox, I'm like, not even in the scene.
Are you even trying?
But that's,
yeah.
But that's nice because I mean, I'm a people pleaser to a fault. So I do like. I will lay awake at night thinking about that one comment that I said on the way out the door, being like, fuck, should I apologize? And the person like doesn't even remember any of it. But
for years too. You hold on to that stuff for years sometimes. There's God, I was watching another podcast recently and I forget who told, I think it was Aaron Weber actually from Nashville, told this joke, and it's like it's a joke about comics, and he said I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like a comic goes back to his hotel after the show, is there for the night, settles in, and there's a knock at the door. He opens it and it's a gorgeous woman, and she's like, I just wanted you to know I absolutely loved you at the show tonight. I'd love to come in and have sex with you. And he goes, were you at the early show or the late show? That's not exactly the joke, but that's exactly what you're talking about. That's all we give a shit.
To me.
It's like, which show were you at?
Which bit?
When did you like me? That's what we care about. That's it. Yeah.
No, that is funny. It's this fleeting thing.
Oh my God.
I mean, for me, I think it's just the ultimate cliche of like, if my dad had said, I love you one time, like I wouldn't need to do any of this. But I'm kind of grateful for it too, because I think I might be more of a boring person.
Oh my God.
And I think you were like raised by your grandparents, right? Because you got the, I like your Andy Griffith joke.
Yeah, thanks man. That's
perfect, clean,
Yeah.
I think just
it works.
It's one of the joke that could probably work in any room.
It works. That's
nice.
That's a good palate cleanser. If things aren't going straight for me,
short, sweet,
I can throw that in.
Yeah, be like, all right, get them back.
Yeah.
Sorry about the masturbation thing. I just
right. Whoopsie. Yeah, this whole act out's a little gross. Yeah, the grandparent stuff is a crowd pleaser for sure, but it also, I think, especially in the South, I relate to a lot of crowd members that way. That little chunk, because I have maybe a 5 or 7 minute chunk of just living with old people.
Yeah.
Quite a few people come up to me after shows and they're like, bro, spot on. Like I also
like they experienced it. Yeah,
exactly.
It's one of those things like being homeschooled, being autistic, being raised by your grandparents, where you don't really hear people like say that they're that, but then when you do, you realize it's very common, and it gives you that perspective where ultimately you do want to have an angle,
right,
and not just be like I'm just the everyman. You do.
Yeah, it is a chosen angle too. That's another, like, my mom is horrified every time I say the words "I was raised by my grandparents" because she's like, "I was there, asshole." Like she was there every day.
Sometimes you got to be like, "I'm going for funny. I'm going for 100% funny, not 100% true."
Yeah. Well, the true
I'll
is
just
still
throw my mom under
close.
the bus.
Right. She hates. But
that's funny.
Her whole
Have you said that on stage? That
I've talked about it before. Yeah,
at the end, you're like,
she hates it.
My mom doesn't like that because she actually would, like, even the way you just said it, like, I was there
all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. So a quick summary of me, I guess, is Dad was not. They split up before I was born. Mom's pregnant. Dad cheats. They split up. He's in and out kind of my whole life, but just enough to where I'm a comedian now. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the origin of that.
Yeah.
She, though, was there every night. I lived with her and my grandparents in the same house, but she was she's like the first person in every direction of our family tree to get a college diploma, pretty much a high school diploma. She got a master's degree and owns her own business.
Hell yeah.
So while she's like reinventing our family tree, I'm at home with the grandparents.
Right. And that's the funny part. If you say about how amazing your mom is, that's that's like the high school graduation speech where everybody cries and claps.
Exactly. Not funny.
Yeah, not funny.
And it's not like, everybody thinks, oh, your mom wasn't around, she's probably out doing drugs or like partying. And I mean, she was doing that too, but she also
busted her ass to better herself.
was building a life for me.
While doing drugs, even better.
Yeah.
That's how I built it all. I did both.
Exactly.
Now I'm weaning into just the...
Yeah. A lot of people think you can't have both. That's not true.
Yeah, no,
that's
you can.
Every
few years you got to reevaluate, but
exactly. But I mean, while she's doing that, it is interesting because there's some of that same takeaway as if my mom's out doing drugs. It's just physically she was not there for a chunk of years because she's, again, at school or at work and working 2 jobs to support us. And she's building this life for us that ultimately paid off kind of after I'm a little too old to really reap the benefits.
After the bits take place.
Right. After I'm already moved out.
Maybe you could work your way up to those, I mean, there's like certain things, I have those things like that where I'm like, and there's that other part that I couldn't make funny, but it's in there. And maybe like in 5 years you'll have some great bit about,
of course.
You'll figure that part out. But it's like you just kind of got to do what they're laughing at.
It's also more compact to just go, I was raised by my grandparents.
Right.
Instead of to be like, I was raised by them, but my mom was there and actually she was in school.
Yeah.
Like,
some footnotes that don't have punchlines.
Nobody gives a
You're
shit.
just eating up more time.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just get to it. And I think, I'm sure that every person in the crowd who's ever talked to me that relates to I was raised by my grandparents probably had other parental influences as well. It's just more compact and easy to communicate to the audience.
Yeah, it's like Mario was on here. He's talking about working at a restaurant and like the racist white women of Asheville will say things, and it's like there's all these stray comments that you can make a bit. So he just makes them one lady. Because it's like you're trying to just get the idea as compact as possible and as funny as possible. So you take liberties like that where you just
and the audience does not care.
Yeah,
if you're like, actually, that was a different lady on a different night. Like, who gives a fuck?
Who's this for? It's just your mom's in the back. Like, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
She gets fired up. She'll do it in an interested. Like if we're at a family function, she'll just like if I'm like, will you hand me something? She'll be like, why don't you ask your grandma to hand it to you? Like since you were raised by your grandpa.
Since I've never done anything for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that is kind of. I mean, it's sweet that she comes out and knows this stuff. Like my dad doesn't, he doesn't live here, so he doesn't see. But I have this chunk I'm working on now that I really want to make funny and not sad, and that's challenging. But it's like about he's not comfortable saying I love you, but he does love me, and just that generation of like he's 80 and like it's almost like gay or weak to like give a good hug or
100%. Yeah,
like I'm really trying to make that funny, and like I don't want to make it sad, but I also don't want to like disrespect him too much. But then I'm like, But sometimes I'll get like fired up at the odd and I'll start like exaggerating it, and then they start laughing a lot, but I'm kind of making him out to be worse than he is.
It's nice that he doesn't live here.
Yeah,
because he won't hear.
Yeah, but then I'm in the back of my mind of like, if it goes in the permanent act and I eventually like did tape it,
Right.
I guess he's not gonna live forever. So I just have to
Well, that's true too. 80, yeah, that's up there.
But it's like, what is the line between like disrespecting?
Yeah.
I guess I have kids and stuff too, so it's like,
yeah.
I mean, with that, it's more like I think it's hacked to just be like, kids sure are annoying the whole time anyway. But it's like, there are things that are personal.
Sure.
And they're underage, so it's like extra bad to talk shit about them.
Right. And a lot of them, they don't, well, kids especially, but parents are, in my case, my girlfriend is the butt of 50% of my jokes. She didn't sign up for this. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that, for me, just came with a level of communication very early on that was like, whatever happen is fair game. Just so you know, whether we're together or not, you're getting talked about on stage. And it's going to be invasive and bad and sometimes exaggerated and ridiculous.
And she was cool with it?
She's fine with it, yeah. Now, that being said, her parents are not allowed to attend any shows that I'm on. And they live here in Nashville. So, a little bit,
they
but
live here.
more just like I have jokes
Asheville
about...
heathens, I mean...
Right. Yeah, well, they live out in Canton, so it's a little... It's a little different.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're probably not happy about how Canton's becoming.
They're not thrilled about it.
These fucking tattooed hipsters.
They are not thrilled about it. And there's like
two coffee shops now. Whoa!
Dude,
a brewery.
They have like a community.
Once that first brewery opens,
it's game over. They better not. They have a community center on their road. That's just like where they used to have like fall festivals and shit. Like the whole holler would come out and like do these things. And every time we pass it in the car with them, they're like, "Look at that, God, a shadow of what it used to be." That community center. You know what I mean? And there's part of me though that does love that they because my girlfriend grew up with that environment, and that's beautiful. The community was there and stuff. Now, was everyone in that room incredibly insensitive and racist? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Asheville so long. I'm just like refreshing to go to do comedy in Knoxville where people are saying wild shit, and I'm like, that's kind of part of the problem here is that it's just a little too like, ooh. Now, people are like nervous, and I'm older, so I'm just like, guys, like, you go to fucking New York or Atlanta, like, they don't give a shit. They'll say retarded, and it's they're beyond it. We're kind of in this place where we're like looking around, like. And there's everyone in the room's white, so you can't even like look to see if it is okay to laugh at.
It's interesting you brought that up because I am so curious, and I think from a distance, I've worked with a lot of Asheville comics through either my shows or I've done a few shows over here over the years too. But this scene is so foreign to me in that regard.
Yeah, I hate that. That's what everybody says. We're siloed.
You're siloed, but I don't know that it's a bad thing.
This is the only show that I'm going to get everyone on this show.
We're getting the word out.
It's kind of a show.
I mean, you're a trendsetter. That's what it is. You're curving the scene.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. The scene, I think it's tough with scenes too because there's definitely a difference in when you're a part of it and when you live outside of it and everyone reports back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the word on Asheville, at least as far as I've heard, is you can't say a lot of stuff if you don't check enough diversity boxes. You don't get on the lineups. People have a problem with whatever it is. The booking system, the political structure of the scene. Also, that's every scene.
Yeah.
I think Asheville in particular, what the feedback I get though is, if you're a wild comic, don't even bother going there.
Yeah, especially if you're a white dude. Like
right. Well, my personal experience here is that they don't like me. As soon as I step up and I'm like, I have a neck beard and I was raised by my grandparents. So like, get the fuck out of here.
And I hate that because that is I mean, that's something that's a recurring theme on here where it's like, I mean, I've always been, a very like liberal artsy guy, but it's like that, the whole point of that group is like inclusion and open-mindedness.
Unless you're a straight white guy.
Yeah.
And then it's get the fuck out of my town.
And it's also like just profiling you on that. And it's like, our scene would be stronger and better if we allowed for that. Like you shouldn't have gatekeepers. Like the audience will decide here if it's funny or not.
Yeah.
And at our Wednesday mic, we do get people that like roll in from out of town and say a bunch of like, holy shit. And it's like tourists in a mixed room and the audience goes crazy. It's like
they do. Okay.
It's fine. Like it's really fine. And I think some of our newer comics are challenging that, which I like. Like
that's good.
So a new comic, Aiden, that was on here that got kind of kicked out of the mics, but then he apologized and he's back, and he's just kind of he's like, I just started and I've watched a bunch of Kill Tony and this is how I'm doing it. And then there's people like me and others that are like, he's funny. Let him.
Right.
So he's kind of
let him fail sometimes. Also,
Yeah, let him fail.
That's tough with a scene is letting the young guys or gals fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Letting them make mistakes. Like
yeah.
I'll probably leave his name out too. There's a kid that I love who started in Bristol with us. And he's a real young kid and he's trying, he loves it. And he went to UT, went to Knoxville, and he had this idea like I'm going to reinvent myself for whatever reason. He's like new city, new me. And he went on stage with a hammer on this first show there and threatened a lady in the front row and was immediately banned from basically every show.
I mean, with an actual weapon.
With a weapon.
I would even say, like, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, and I only refer to him as his first name, The Hammer, and then his last name now. And I'm going to omit those. But that...
What a massive risk. I mean, did afterwards, was he like... Yeah, that was a mistake, and I won't do that again?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no.
Because actually doing the mistake, I think just make... But then it's if you're afterwards, you're like, no, I was right with the hammer. Then it's like...
He didn't step it back.
You're never going to... Yeah. No one's going to let you do stuff, you know? But if you can have humility and be like, that was... I'm sorry I was wrong, and then show up without a hammer... And you'll probably go last.
I want to say his name so bad. The whole thing with me and him was like, what the fuck were you thinking was going to be the reaction? Like what? Because he was honestly shocked by the level of pushback to the hammer.
I mean, even just holding a hammer, I think I would start to go like look into the person's eyes and be like, this already feels kind of unsafe. If it was like aggressive. Like a small, adorable lady.
Right.
I mean, when that's profiling, so I'd be like, well, but any dude with the hammer, and then if you actually are like threatening.
Yeah, I think he pretty much said, laugh or I'm going to hit you with this. And I don't think he meant that, but he said the words with his face into a microphone, you know?
That's part of that's part of why I go, is because it's like, that's a story that no one will ever, like, it'll always be.
He's labeled the hammer.
He has to move farther and reinvent it.
He's got to go far. Because I've been spreading that story pretty far. I spread that. I mean, I just told it on here. Yeah. I try to let the world know this guy's wild.
If he can come to some humility about it.
Right.
And then he can tell the story about how he's wrong. I think there is a redemption arc.
Sure.
But
he's not there yet.
Yeah, and the person that brings the hammer might not ever get there. Just based on what I know about him.
You'd be correct. He's kind of in the thick of it right now. He's kind of like, you guys are pussies, and I should be allowed to bring this hammer. Well, the other thing is, he is a student at UT, and he rode the bus there. So that would mean that he rode the bus with a hammer, either in hand or on person. Yeah. And was like, you wait till they see that. Maybe a backpack. I hope it was
conceal that hammer.
Also, not the only guy on a Knoxville City bus to have a hammer.
Yeah.
He's probably like, this is awkward. We're both wearing the same hammer. You know how awkward?
That's where he got the idea, is he was the only one not wearing a hammer on the bus.
Yeah, for sure.
And then he found himself on stage because it's really the Knoxville City Transit's fault.
Oh, man. Yeah. What a fun pursuit we have both delved into.
I mean, I live for that stuff, like the wild shit, because it is like I don't do drugs or drink anymore. I'm like, I have a job. I give all my money to my family. So it's like, that's kind of the Wild West. It's just like, there's going to be some hammer moments occasionally. I mean, there's going to be something crazy that happens at every mic.
Every time.
But that sounds like, one of the top shelf.
That's a big one. That's a big one. And that's, I think
when it's so unsafe.
Right. Well,
because you kind of want that from comedy. And that's kind of like Asheville's problem, or it has been, or it's something that I think we're trying to change now. Is like, if you're trying to make it too safe, that's not conducive to, we're not getting our best bits, because I have things that I'm like, I got to see if Justin will book me in Knoxville so I can try this bit,
Oh, wow. Right. Because you're like, I got to take this out of the city and do it. Yeah.
I mean, I do think I have enough trust here now. I've been here for 10 years doing this and stuff, but like the odd on Tuesdays, I definitely I get older, that room stays the same. I have this head, so it is kind of like I'll try to talk about sexism or call my daughters bitches or something there, and I'm like,
watch it.
I will feel the wind leave the room.
Interesting.
But also I feel like that's okay too. And they haven't told me not to come back, but I feel like somehow I'm writing that line, and then I'll go to like Knoxville. I'm like, nothing I said
whatever
was even like, I'm like so PG.
Yeah. Well, that's a college town too. And I think you are more PG than you assume. And this scene definitely is what leads you to face that more often. I would almost argue that my scene, what's left of it in the Tri-Cities, is like the antithesis of that. Like, to go back to the Pruitt example, Pruitt has stuff about his kids being transgender. I have seen couples in the crowd look at each other and be like,
Yeah.
As soon as he says the words transgender.
Yeah.
Which is
I love that
crazy.
he presents the way he presents, and then he's got like transgender. I mean, it's just that's comedy.
He's the best.
Why is he not headlining shows here? I mean,
that's a great question, and I think he's getting there. He actually is on his way to Florida right now to do some Pride shows, so he's finding kind of a niche there. And
right.
That's a good lane for him.
That is a good lane.
But that whole I'm a redneck, but I'm not an idiot. I'm not a racist moron, and my kids are transgender, and yes, I still love them. He has, to your point, such a unique angle there, and that makes him very marketable. Yeah, which is important.
That's what you want. Yeah, it's like a unique perspective.
Yes, a lot of perspective from that guy, and we're pretty fortunate. I mean, the Tri-City scene is small, and
what do you mean? Like, what's left of it? Has it been dwindling?
It's okay. Maybe I shouldn't have said what's left of it. I'm probably gonna eat my words there. So the scene is interesting,
and you're encouraged to contradict yourself and say things you don't agree with later on here too. That's part of it.
Well, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, we'll see. I have no problem voicing my own reality and my own opinion, because that's all it is. The truth is, if you ask 10 other people in our area, they're probably like, what is he talking about? The scene's fine. For my experience, we've always had Blue Ridge that's where I started, is Blue Ridge. So about 3.5, 4 years now, maybe just over 4, they've had the club. They did have a big move about a year ago, and I think that has really impacted the scene.
Yeah, the foot traffic. I know you got to be careful because it's like your places, but it's like.
I got to be careful, but I also don't. To be honest with you, I also don't. So I have no problem voicing kind of my grievances or not even grievances, just the things I spot that are a problem for the scene, because we are such a small, fragile scene as is, and because I accidentally have become a part of that, with
the only booker besides maybe
exactly, pretty much. I mean, we have a few independent shows here and there, and there's kind of a new startup going on over in Kingsport to get some good shows out there, which is great.
But you know how to run a show and set up the chairs, and there's people there,
right? So, correct.
So you're getting DMs every day.
I'm getting.
Why am I not on the fucking?
Boy, do I! Right? Let me tell you, boy, do I! And
don't do it. You got your answer. Like, most people don't want you on your show. We deal with it. It sucks.
It sucks. Well, the thing that really sucks about it is I am such a people pleaser as well that I would love to give everyone a spot on my show, but I care too much about it.
The quality of the show.
And my kind of developed response to it has become, well, here's our lineup for our last show. Tell me who shouldn't have been on it, and you should be.
Yeah.
If you have such a problem with the way I book, tell me who sucks. They never. That ends right there every time.
Yeah.
So that's a tool that I've kind of developed. And then Don't Tell does make it a little easier on us in that you do have to apply through the website. They do have to approve your tape before I even get an email that tells me what city you're from and you want to do.
That's nice. That there's another filter that before you.
There's a system. They also, very rarely does this happen, but maybe once or twice in my little over a year producing for Don't Tell, they'll send out an email with a ban of a comic to be like, he's going to try to message you and get in your city. He was just in wherever and did this. Don't.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, ignore this guy.
Yeah.
So it does happen. It's got to be pretty extreme for you to, I mean, we have 200 cities. So if 200 producers are agreeing you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty extreme, but the Hammer might do it, honestly.
And it's not like,
the
Hammer should do it. I mean, that's, I'm trying to think of a worse, like, screaming the N-word when you're white, maybe. I think it's on that level.
Seen it. I've seen it.
And that's just a word. I mean, what's going to happen with this Hammer?
Yeah. The Hammer was not smart, but that was not a Don't Tell show. That was also a show maybe akin more to like an Asheville level show where it is the booker is very progressive and it is a very inclusive show. So it's like, of all the shows,
and there you go. Like, you gotta, that's the whole skill, is you gotta read these fucking rooms. Like, how many times have you realized after you did a show that you didn't read the room right? I mean,
every show.
Yeah, every show. It's just like
every show.
And it's just you never get 100% to reading every room, but it's like, that's, if you don't have that skill.
Yeah.
If you're not able to, and then if you're not able to apologize, I mean, it's just like, fucking nothing you do is gonna work. Like, that's not even just comedy.
Yeah. I think this is another. I've listened to a lot of other comics, like famous comics and stuff. I've read every autobiography of every comic. I think that's all very useful and interesting. Yeah. And one thing I heard one time is stand-up is like failing uphill.
Yeah.
Somebody said that one time. That is literally like every time I bomb or even just a joke falls flat. Like I hosted a show in Knoxville this past week. Very excited about. It was going great as far as the host set goes. I had kind of felt the temperature of the room. I thought I had them. kind of did something and dug a hole deeper than I've been in a long time. Like radio silence, just fucking
like during the host set up top.
During the host set up top, and because I produce shows and spent the first really 6 months hosting my own show, I've developed enough of like that host instinct to go, well, I'm not just gonna bury it and then go coming up first.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse. So instead, I was like, I'll get them back, and it took me a few jokes to finally get, but I did eventually dig out of it.
Like fan some, get the coals, like a little bit of flames happening again.
Well, my brain just went, what was working before, and do I have anything more in that space? And that worked. That dug me out of it. And then, of course, the first comic comes up and is a pretty edgy comic, I would say, and they love him. So it's like, as a host, I had no business going in that direction. That was on me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the host is kind of like, almost always should be clean-ish, I think. You know, it's just a little soon for cocaine and anal sex.
Sure.
So it's just like, even if it's a dirty show, like, you do have to kind of... but yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Like,
that's the game.
Yeah.
It was also daylight out, and there's a lot of windows. So daylight comedy sucks.
Yeah, definitely.
Daylight
it should be in
dark
a basement
comedy,
at least, where you forget it's daytime.
Yeah, and it was a brewery show. It was actually for this new production called Next Stop Comedy. Do you guys have that over here yet?
No. When Maze came last year with Tyler and Brandy, they did a show here with something that was kind of like a don't tell ish thing.
I bet that's it.
And it sounded cool. I don't know that if there's been more, but
it's cool. They're spreading fast. But I'll tell you this. I mean, I've only done the one show, but I know the producer for it.
People are copying that don't tell model. Like, we don't even have to be there. We just find a brewery, get a guy to set up the chairs.
Bingo. Yeah. It works. And I think, too, because you've done others. Each don't tell is really a reflection of the producer. I mean, the more I just did Myrtle Beach, and that couldn't be more different from the way I run my show. Yeah. And so there's while there is restrictions and it is one network, don't tell, each city is its own atmosphere. And
the branding's almost just like in the ads, which they really get people there. I mean, it's crazy. Those are the shows in here that are doing the best. By far, just because of the advertising. But then once you get in there, it's like it's just kind of whatever the local producer wants to do. Exactly.
And I think Asheville has a reputation of its own for its don't tell, but Myrtle is it was interesting. The guy who produces Myrtle, great dude, his name's Josh, sweet guy, and everybody does 15 minutes. Host, headliner, feature. 15 minutes.
Interesting.
He's not a comic.
Yeah.
I learned after the show.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was because I hosted and I did 15 and I thought this felt like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then the headliner did 15 and I felt like that felt like not a lot.
Why even call him a headliner?
Why exactly? So
the host said it starts to be like, is there going to be somebody else, And then once you start passing the baton, 15 doesn't feel as long, but
15's rough. And he again, very sweet dude, and he loves comedy. And I am a firm believer that we need people like that who have no interest in touching a mic, but they love it. And they want to produce.
Yes,
huge.
Yeah, just focus on that.
Yes, exactly. And he needs to keep producing. But I did kind of pull him aside after it. I was like, as a comic, let me just tell you a couple things. And as a comic / don't tell producer, let me tell you a couple things, about this show. And I have no interest in changing the way he does things. But I think if you're not a comic, you would have no idea that 15 minutes feels like a long fucking time. Yeah. When you're the host.
Yeah, because the host is really just going like, let's take a bunch of people that walked in from different threads and make them one audience. Yeah. And it's just like even last night at the mic, I went up first and it was just like, all right, you know. I have all this new stuff I've never said before, so I really don't know if it was the stuff or if it was the thing. But I'm not going to play my hits because it's at a mic, Right. But yeah, it does take time. And yeah, if you felt that on stage in your body, like you're just going to understand that more than someone that doesn't.
Exactly. And honestly, no amount of us communicating that to somebody who's just a producer and not a comic is really going to do much good. Yeah. Because they don't feel it.
Yeah, and I love, I would prefer that we all give each other more feedback about everything. I got real thick skin with that stuff, but I'm always kind of wary too, as a people pleaser, if I'm going to upset somebody. Like, you'll see somebody doing well and then they'll lose the crowd, but they don't know where they lost him. Yeah. And you're like, I could tell this person that. Yeah. But I'm also not trying to pull them aside and mansplain their act to them if it's not solicited.
Comics are sensitive people.
Yeah. Too. Oh, yeah.
Almost all of them. Yeah. I mean, my present company include. I am the most sensitive boy of all time. Yeah. I will cry like that.
Isn't it weird? It's like you try to that's like why we are up there is because we're trying to project like the opposite
Yeah.
Like, public speaking. This
I'm in
is like,
charge.
I don't care. Bomb all the time. Like, I'm in charge. Like, it's like you're trying to project the exact opposite of like how you feel. Like, I'm not enough. I'm not good.
100%.
Like it's counterintuitive, but once you get it, it's like, no, of course,
it is.
They're the most desperate, sad people ever.
So desperate.
They just be home like
the tears of a clown, right? It's like that classic cliche of like, and I talked about it a little bit on stage. We had a great show, a Don't Tell show a while back, and I had probably the best set I've ever had, which it's kind of a stocked pond because it's my show.
Did you tape it?
I taped it.
Did
That's my booking tape. It's very proud of it. And there's a moment in there where I keep going back to making fun of my appearance. My beard is normally what I talk about. And the crowd just eats it up. They love it. And so after the laughs die, I go, it's great to get in front of 100 strangers and make fun of yourself for an hour. And they laughed again. And I was like, and then cry in the shower later. That's the comic mindset.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, get it all out now and then deal with it later.
Yeah.
Who cares?
And as soon as that moment's over, you're just like, if anything,
you
maybe fall down lower because of I think that's the thing with being like a big headliner on the road, and you're like thousands of people are just like in that rhythm, and you're doing it, and then you're alone in a room, and like the come down from that, it's like how are you not gonna start making bad choices?
You start doing drugs, you start masturbating, you start
just blowing out your
DMing
dopamine,
people you shouldn't be talking to. Boy, you're
but then it's like there is it's gonna be a balance. Like you're not gonna get all those good chemicals without the other side of it.
Exactly. And I think, a lot of for me anyways, a lot of my set is founded in the lowest moments of my life. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my material is my dad left. I was raised by 70-year-olds. My mom wasn't around. You know, my girlfriend and I fight sometimes. It's like whatever the darkest
Mom
sides
didn't do
of life
one
is.
thing. She wasn't there.
She was out just goofing off for 15 years. Yeah. No.
It does steadily get hotter in here as I turn the AC up because it's loud, but maybe that'll help.
No, you're good. Yeah. I think because comedy not always, but a lot of times does come from darker parts of life too. I think maybe that leads to that balance you're talking about there.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing because it's like Richard Pryor. Like I read his book, and it's well known that it's the most fucked up childhood of all time.
Super,
and he's like the greatest comic ever. And there's a lot of that. And the people we started talking about that can't work a calendar or write an email, but they when they're on, it's just so breathtaking. And it's like I mean, but then there are the ones like like Mitch Hedberg, I mean, who actually, did die of an overdose, so it actually was tragic. But the material kind of is genius to me, but it's like candy bars and stuff like that too. It's like being funny about the little stuff. Because I mean, it's too late for me to, like, there is this part of me that wants to just like steer off the cliff and just be like, gonna have a great week and die and be hilarious. But that's like a constant kind of thing. Like, how do you... Is my art suffering because I am a well-adjusted, dependable person? Like,
I have the same.
If I had more trauma, like if my dad had not just said I love you, but if he like beat the shit out of me, would I be funnier?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. There are exceptions. I think there are very few, but to use your prior example, I mean, his mom was like a prostitute, right? And he grew up in a brothel.
Yeah.
That's kind of his whole thing.
It was like sexually abused.
The worst shot. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, some of my favorite examples as far as of legends in comedy are people who didn't always start out on that track, and then there's a flip moment. And a lot of times, not even a joke, a lot of times it's head trauma that tends to like flip.
Yeah, like, Roseanne Barr.
Kinnison, same way.
Got run over by a car, and then you're hilarious. Can't do math anymore.
She was like a mathlete. Yeah, exactly. And Sam Kinnison, same way. Like he was going to be a pastor and was like in pastor school. And then, but you also see a lot of that in his act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that still has a place in his life. It just is kind of muddled.
The preaching? Yeah. It's like it's like a hellish preacher now.
Yes.
Like the muscle memory is still there from the God days, but now it's like
the screaming, the cadence, a lot of it. And there's old clips of this is so boring to anybody who's not a dork, but there's old clips of Kinnison who you can watch him actually preaching. He did sermons.
Oh, really?
And it's
pre-stand-up?
Pre-stand-up. And it's the same. Different language, the exact same person on set. You know what I mean?
Same like rhythm and delivery.
Getting fired up. It's fire and brimstone. It's all Well,
that's interesting too, because a couple of the funniest Asheville comics, like Hillary and Jason Webb, are
both
on here.
great.
Both The dads are preachers.
Really?
So it's like they weren't preachers, but as kids, it was like, here's the example of how to be, and they're up there doing the room. And I imagine they were like not boring ones, but there's like a spider over there. Yeah. But
I'm good.
Yeah. It's like the preaching and the stand up are just not that far apart.
Not at all. Not at all. And I grew up in a sort of a fire and brimstone Southern Baptist environment as well. We didn't have snakes. We didn't go quite that far. But there's a lot of I've chunks in my act about it too, where I'm like, there was screaming, there was crying, there was damnation. That's all very confusing to me because I was a child at the time.
Yeah, right.
It's so
Is it still hard to shake it? Because like when your brain's forming and they're like hell forever if you don't, and then you get older and you're like, I don't believe that, but it's still like.
But I am going to hell. Yeah, 100%,
right. Because I mean that's so messed up when you take somebody that little and be like.
It's tough. It's tough, and I will say comparatively, the church that we were in was about maybe 50% the level that my mom experienced growing up, and that was about 50% of her. You know what I mean? So our religion got watered down over the generations. Yeah. But even by the time I'm a young guy, and my mom had sort of a personal revelation somewhere around my early teens, and so we went from like fire and brimstone, she's on my case to get in church all the time up until I'm about 13. And then there's a flip where she kind of let go a little, both for herself and me. And so now we're cool. I mean, she like cusses around me and stuff. It's weird. Like when I was in high school and friends would come over, they'd be like, your mom is the coolest, most chill. And I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dog. Like you came along at a good time. You know what I mean?
I like that theme.
Yeah.
It's my grandparents are the good people, goddammit.
Yeah. She did nothing. Just keep hammering it home. Yeah.
Your mom's like, you guys want some cookies?
Yeah. I'm like, what a piece of shit.
I don't know. She seems pretty nice.
Honestly, there was some of that where like friends would be like, you're crazy, man. She's great. And I'm like, don't trust it. At a moment's notice, she'll flip on it. But that religious upbringing, I think, is also common in comics.
Oh,
as
yeah.
Well. It's just.
And we're in the South, so
repression.
it's kind of like every other person's got that. Like
repression, restrictions. When you, we were the family that if we went to a movie and there was a sex scene or a curse word, we'd stand up and leave.
Yeah.
Mom would be like, get up. Yeah. And it's a certain amount of years of that make you go, I want to get wild. Yeah. I want to say whatever and be open and be vulnerable, but also kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Stand up is kind of
forbidden fruit.
Exactly.
It's like, what is this other thing?
We the biggest example that we've talked about a bunch on Talking Bits is we always ask people for inspiration. A lot of times it's blue collar because we're in the South, and those guys were a big inspiration for me too.
Yeah.
A lot of people. But in my family, we would watch Blue Collar until the end when Ron White came on, and then they turned the TV off
because he had like a whiskey.
He had a whiskey. He was dirty. He was sexual. He was blue. So my brain, logically, as a kid, would go, "What is he talking about? That they don't want me to."
And
see
he is the best one.
He's the best one.
I mean, they're all great. I mean,
he's easily the best one. He's the only one still headlining.
Seinfeld? Were they down with Seinfeld? Because there was.
Honestly, we weren't Seinfeld family.
Yeah,
but
it was kind of like New York. He was clean, but they would still talk about how it's okay to be gay and have an abortion. So it's like even though it was clean, I think
they weren't down with that.
Still wasn't like Southern. Southern clean.
The Southern
New York clean.
Right. Yeah. Seinfeld wasn't a big one for us, and honestly, I have a very split. Honestly, upbringing, but especially in stand-up. I have my grandpa, who I was very close with, who we watched a lot of Dean Martin roasts, a lot of Sanford and Son, a lot of Andy Griffith. That's where all that 60s, 70s comedy comes from, which is still pretty wild. Honestly, it holds up. A lot of those Dean Martin roasts, you're like, Jesus Christ.
I've not seen any of that.
Boy. It's some of it didn't age well at all. Some of it's wild. But then on the flip side, I had some time with my dad over the years, and he was a Eddie Murphy, Def Jam comedy, Richard Pryor, black comedy guy. So I have this very diverse mix. You know what I mean? Bernie Mac was a big one for him too. Bernie's huge. So
there is like some kind of light in the darkness there, whereas like Dad wasn't maybe like around, but it's like his record collection was awesome, or it's like
you almost nailed it.
He had like weed and all the.
He did have a lot of weed.
George Carlin albums or whatever. You're like, I don't know. I'll spend the summer with him.
He had one of those. This is very of its time, but one of those huge speaker stereos. And do you remember the CD player that had like a rotating thing with like 24 CDs?
Yeah.
Balling out of control. Yeah. No money, no couch.
You could shuffle 24 different albums. It was like
he had that.
Future's now.
Yeah,
I
so
don't think there's more technology that comes after this. I think this is it.
that's it. That is kind of the pinnacle of cool. There will never be anything cooler than that. Because, like, so what? You have an iPod with 500 songs. Who gives a shit?
At that point, it's like, just...
It doesn't spin. Your iPod does not spin.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing with him is, and this only comes after years of reflection and therapy and stuff, is that the two kind of big pillars, I would say, of my identity are my music and my comedy. And those are the only two ways I could connect with my dad growing up. Literally, we would sit and we would watch comedy, or we would listen to music on that particular machine.
Pretty good ones, though.
Great ones. And he had great taste. And so a lot of that is a big part of who I am. So, yeah, to your point, it's like he wasn't there and there's a lot of damage done. But probably the two biggest parts of who I am are mostly because of him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And it is. It's like that's kind of the theme of just would I be funnier if I was more like him? It's just like, I mean, I do kind of think that, like, most of the men in my family are like that too. They all die like of heart attacks when they're like 50 from just chain smoking and drinking. And my parents are the two ones out of all of them that, like, the alcoholic parents that they found each other and they're like, just went the other way hard. Like,
right.
Overinsured, like no risks. So we kind of grew up with that, but we still kind of got that, like, risky artist shit in our blood.
Yeah.
But we were raised just so hyper safe.
Right.
But I do kind of feel like that, the way that you like described your dad, and it is kind of more the natural state. That's kind of more like what if I didn't. It's more artificial to try to be reliable and consistent. You know what I mean? But it's like
totally
we're in this world, so it's like I'm trying to thrive in this game. So I like having a house and a steady paycheck and a family, but it's like they're
right. Now let me ask you this: without the
it.
family, we'll say at least kids, but maybe even the wife, you don't give a shit about it. You're sleeping on the floor, right? Am I right? Like, you're going to take a lot more risks.
It's hard to know. I mean, I'm in so deep. I mean, I've been a dad for like 14 years.
You
it's
are
like, I mean, who am I? Like, I'm just like, I don't know what I am without it anymore. But I definitely don't desire to be that anymore. Like,
right. It's fading.
And I think also when the people that I'm going to turn 46 next month, so it's like people that are my age that like are still doing that. Like all I got to do is like have lunch with them and be like, okay,
exactly,
I'm good. You know, so like, which I will do. Yeah, I'll be like, let's go over and check out their Facebook. It's a conspiracy, bro. Like you're just so far up your own fucking ass. Like where you know when I'm like, all right, my kid like got to make sure she's reading good. You know, so I bombed, but like that doesn't really matter. Like it kind of helps kind of like keep it, whereas I think I probably would just like spiral off, but there's no telling. Like, I mean, that version of me is so long gone.
Well, probably for good. For good. It's a good thing. Well, I mean, I don't have kids and I'm in a committed relationship, but you know, we're not married. We don't live together. So there's still certain freedoms that I take, and I travel for comedy a lot without her and stuff. So there's certain freedoms I do have. But I think things like having a lease and having a job and a car payment and things like that are my version of that, in that it does give some structure, because
for sure.
Without those things...
You're running shows? I mean, you have a lot of responsibility. I can tell.
I have a lot.
Yeah.
I do have a lot, and I've always had a lot. I think part of my upbringing, too, was like I had my first job when I was 12, and I started making... a lot of money.
Same.
From 12 to 15.
Except a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, I made cash, and it was under the table, and I worked the this is kind of a pivot, but I worked the crab boats in Virginia Beach. I would go out on the boats, and then I would run the crab store all day, cooking blue crab and shit.
You got bits about that?
No.
Sounds
weirdly enough, I
bet eventually there'll be one. It's like you got all your life shit.
Yeah.
It just seems like...
I think it's maybe not far enough in the rear view now, you know, because that was basically during the summers when I was a kid, my mom just shipped me off to live with my aunt. Was like, go do that, you know, and I loved it because we lived in a huge neighborhood. There was kids. We'd bike around. It was the summers for me. Those summers were like I lived in the 1970s. I mean, like I was never home. Riding the bike, it was great.
No cell phone,
and I was making a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
like $110.
And you didn't have
a day.
like I had a paper route. I made like maybe like $80 a month, not that much, but it felt like I didn't have to pay for any food or gas or anything.
You're 13.
So
what are your expenses?
Comic books and candy. I was like, it's on me. Like I've got it covered.
Such beautiful times. It really is. And we're to kind of come full circle with that thought. I'm doing Don't Tell Virginia Beach at the end of this month. I haven't been back in about 10 years since I was there. So it's going to be...
Prodigal son returns.
It's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to bomb hard, getting all emotional talking about it there. But that's going to be
beautiful
cool.
too, you know, like a hard emotional bomb in the place you came from. Might inform your comedy more than...
it might.
It'll suck that night. Every night after for a while, but that might inform you more than like... like when they just laugh at everything at just the right spot, it's like it feels good, but do you really
what do you learn?
grow? Yeah. What do you learn? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same
like
way.
Each set should like kind of burn the old you a little bit. A
little bit.
You know.
That's kind of the
That's what I tell myself because I kind of bombed last night.
Sure. Yeah. Every time you bomb, you're like, this is what it's all about. Yeah. Actually, you're meant to do bad.
Yeah, you're meant to do bad. If you're doing good, then you're not.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what are you talking about? This makes no sense.
Well, honestly, that's just an excuse for me to go back there because I haven't been in so long. So I'm doing Richmond and Virginia Beach in a weekend, and that's kind of enough to get me up there. You know, it's not enough money to pay for it or anything, but it's an excuse to go.
Yeah.
And that's honestly all of my traveling. You know, I have to stay on the road because most of the shows in town are mine.
Yeah.
So I'm on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm on that show.
And you're running a show. I mean, there's people that are asking you to be on the show. It's like that's what I was saying about like Justin Mays is like I did Knoxville shows before him and I did him after, and it's like there's a whole scene because of him. He's almost like the Blue Ridge comedy of
he hates when you say that, but you're right. I agree with you.
Yeah,
100%.
I can see why he hates it, but it's like you got to give to get, and like I mean that's kind of like I just enjoy this podcast, but part of it is like, you know, trying to just give something instead of just be like, when do I get to be on your show again? Yeah. It's like, that's just a shitty way to be. Yeah. And most people are just like that in any scene. They're just like mad that they're not getting on show. What are you fucking doing for the scene? Like you're setting up all those chairs, doing all the emails. So you have earned, I mean, you're funny, you know, but that has to happen too, but you've kind of like earned more of those connections to go out and do these shows because you're doing all this work at home. And most people don't do fucking shit, and they're like wondering why they're not like you have the flyer with the shows. It's like this is the reason. It's fucking simple. Like, put on a show. Don't expect to get on a show for your first year too.
Oh my god!
And for the love of God, don't put a clip of you on the internet doing stand up for a year.
For maybe ever. I don't like doing it now. Yeah, I rarely will do it now. Like that one show is all my clips. That one set that I'm like
That's
proud of that.
Yeah,
one set I'm proud of.
Yeah.
In 3 years? Yeah,
that's pretty good though.
It's not bad. One's not bad.
Yeah,
it's good. And there's moments in that too where I watch it and I go, "You fucking idiot."
Some days you're like, I just want to delete them all. Like, no, sleep on it.
Well, kind of do your thing too about give and take. Is Justin and I have had this conversation too, ironically, about stand up is almost to me, and it gets a little woo woo, but to me, the longer I do it,
we embrace this is Asheville.
Okay, well that's right. I forgot where
be as gay as you want.
This is gay. This is some gay shit. I think it almost at times feels sentient. If that's maybe a little bit
what does
extreme.
Sentient means? Like conscious?
Conscious. Yeah. It has like it's a beast. It's a cruel fucking mistress to have. But I feel like the more you feed it, the more it takes care of you.
Yeah.
And that may just be a bigger metaphor for life in general, honestly. Right. But in stand-up, it's absolutely true. Because the second that I'm like, God, I'm just grinding in vain. I'm doing these shows for no reason. I'm getting no connections out of it. The next day, an email pops up for an opportunity or a window opens or something. And then as soon as I'm riding high and I'm like, I'm the fucking man. I got all these things lined up. Look at my dates. Forget it.
Totally.
Forget it.
Yeah.
That's my relationship.
That's exactly my relationship too. Is it's like just and it's just it is that. So there's this idea in your mind that maybe as you get farther and like get more respect or material or shows that it's just gonna stay it better. But it's like no matter where you're at. So the skill is for me is like trying to learn to like be present with all of it.
Yeah.
Like even last night I was like, I'll go first, and it's like. Just not being kind of like pissy about that, It's like I'm just kind of showing up at the last minute to do this thing. So I don't. Of course, we all think we deserve the best spot at every show.
Well, the ego starts to creep in. Yeah, sure. Especially when you witness, and I'm sure you more than me. I mean, how long have you been doing comedy?
This is my 10th year.
Okay, right. So way more than me. 3 times me. You have earned a certain level of things in this scene, and that's all here.
And I can't say that to myself because my head voice will say that I have earned, and as soon as I say that, that's when I start.
That's my point.
Like exactly. I don't have any shows coming up.
You can't believe it.
Yeah, like I'm starting to.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is true.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true.
I appreciate that though. I like that you said it.
Right. Yeah. Well, sometimes I think I'm the same way that I need. I'm pretty okay receiving compliments and flowers from other people. It makes me uncomfortable, but I can allow it. And sometimes I can even internalize it, not to get too crazy. But occasionally I'll hear when somebody says something nice.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving that to me. Absolutely not. And I think the fear, at least for me, is as soon as I do that, it's game over. Because how many comics do you know that are like, I'm the fucking man, and they suck.
I think all of them. I think
All of them. Damn near all of them. Yeah. Anybody who says things like, I deserve blank, I'm better than blank, I blank, 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 fuck off.
Which is everyone.
Which is...
Why are you booking... How many times often people say, like, I'm funnier than them, why are they on your show?
Once a week.
Yeah. And even if they don't say it, you can see in their eyes, it's they're trying to use different words, but that's the feeling. I mean, we're kind of designed that way for some reason that fucks us up. Is to beat the ego, you know, and the whole thing of stand up is like, it is my fucking ego. I'm up there, I this, I that. So it's like, and then you have to get off stage and do the emails and the hangs and be like, it's not me, it's a community, and I'm serving this, and learning how to flip that. I mean, and that's kind of like a father dad thing too, where I think like it's a sim, like that is kind of the skill of like being very confident and very humble. Being these two opposite, holding that dichotomy, and then knowing when
which are literally the antithesis of each other, and you have to be both.
Yeah, and this audience wants my fucking ego, and as soon as I'm off stage, I need to be a gracious. Like, you ever get off, have a good set, and then replay all the hangs after the good set, and you're like, oh shit, I was still like
ramped up.
Yeah, and it probably wasn't, you know. Like, I was acting like I just played like to 10,000 people, you know. I was ramped up, and I was like,
this is Don't Tell with 40 people in the audience, and you're like, I fucking crushed that room.
But the 8 before that were so bad that it did feel like you watch the tape back, it's like 7 out of 10. I don't know. I just needed it. I just needed a good one.
Well, the crowd dynamic is interesting too, because I mean, and this, I don't even like saying this out loud, but I occasionally will have someone from the crowd who does say something nice to me, whether it's they relate to the grandparent stuff, or, you know, that thing you said was funny, or God forbid the worst one is like, you should try this. Fuck you. Yeah. If you're in the crowd,
please let it be a one-liner. Oh my God. If they're going to tell you one, you should try.
Don't tell me some Facebook meme that your grandpa shared and be like, you should say that. It happens all the time. But I care. That's very nice that someone from the crowd, first of all, paid money, got a babysitter, you know, whatever, and showed up to a show I'm on. That's great. The fact that you would wait by the door for me after and say something nice, that's great. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Yeah. What I care about is if you come up to me or another comedian that I respect goes, hey, that new joke rocks.
Yeah. It's like that guy that was really the one problematic guy in the room that you almost got kicked out 6 times. He's like, you were great. And you're
it's
like,
always
fuck,
him.
This is like,
it's always him.
I'd rather not have compliments than have you be like, he's like, yes, my guy. I really felt what you were.
Why are you my fan? 100%. 100%. It's, well, that's a kind of just big picture. This whole conversation is like, I'm just never happy with whatever life is giving me.
Well, it's great that you know that, you know?
Ever. That's just who I am.
Yeah. I mean,
and that helps
that's
me.
the human. That's every movie and book that's ever written, though. I mean, I think that is like whether you're aware of it or not. It's like
so many comics are just not aware of anything.
Yeah,
and I think maybe artists. I would maybe broaden that word comic to artists, in that because stand up is such it's like a solo sport that you need a team around you to play. It's confusing.
I love it. That's what I love about it, because I was in the band, and it's like having a co-host. It's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want with this, you know, and you're still here, and we're bouncing ideas. Like, it's the perfect blend of like, it's me as a lone wolf, but just like you said. Yeah. I occasionally will do like a solo podcast, and that's been interesting, creeping into that a little more.
Tell me about that, because I've thought about it for this new venture with me, and I think it just scares me more than anything. And also,
sounds like a good reason to do it.
Well, I could just delete it if I don't like it.
I think I only ended up posting like the nth one, but it's like it's like running bits or something. I've even started doing the thing where I talk into my phone a little, you know. And I was like, my last guest was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. It's like, I'm talking. I'm like, that is the stupidest thing ever. But on the other hand, it's like, it's just a new way to try to write, you know. I didn't make it to the mics this week, so I am going to try to, you know, film myself talking, and then I might watch it back. Does that? Do I what?
Pruitt does that. He writes that
does
way.
he? Oh, yeah. So, I see. He does it all the time. And he's like one of the ones, and like Ryan Gordon here does, like, I've seen other people like them that I respect do it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I should try that too, you know?
Well, Pruitt does that not even for the jokes he posts. Like, he'll do little funny TikToks and stuff. He does not write things on paper or in his phone. If he thinks of an idea, he hits record.
Yeah.
And he says, and to his credit, he's a very physical comic. He wants to see his facial expressions, his hand movements. Yeah. He wants to know in the first draft what did I think was the angle there?
I love it.
Yeah.
I had Sarah Love on the podcast last year, and she was like, yeah, I was like, oh, I record voice memos, and she's like, I record my face talking, and I was kind of, things are changing so fast. I feel like I wasn't even seeing that much of that a year or two ago, and I was like,
right.
And she said just what you said, like, there's stuff that's lost.
Yep.
And I was like,
Yep.
whoa, that's just, I'm an audio guy. Like, I'll just listen to this. I don't like to watch it. I prefer to, I think it's more mind-blowing to imagine it, but then there's like people that are younger using the technology in a new way, and you go, yeah, I'll try that, and then I'll throw the reel in and I'll cut out, like I said that twice, and then I end up not even posting it, but the exercise of taking my like blah brain dump and trying to punch it up, I'm like, I think this is a way to write, and writing's in quotes because I never actually write.
Well, even if you're failing at trying it, I think it's cool that you do. Like, I'll just honestly, it's almost more admirable in a world of so much content and like everything that fucking happens to you, tell 1,000 people about it. Yeah, there is something to being like, I have a video on my phone that I took in a very personal moment in a personal setting at a different time in my life, just kind of talking to me, and I was able to be like super vulnerable with myself, which never happens. It may or may not have been impacted by substances, but I was able to be very vulnerable, and so that video I keep I would never fucking post that. I would never let my closest friend watch it. But it's for me. There's something to going, I'm just doing this for me a little bit. Yeah. Because everything we do, and I'm sure you're the same way. And think
about when you're an old. You should like put it in the cloud, because I think about when you're like an old man.
Exactly.
I mean, you're seeing yourself like young and emotional like that. That's probably gonna have even more value. And maybe because you didn't try to whore yourself out to the followers, you did like it's almost more authentic.
It's way more authentic. And in the moment, I knew nobody's ever gonna see this. It's not going anywhere.
And that's the side of Asheville that I do love. Like I'm always talking shit about how we're like too like justice warrior to the point where it's like they're Nazis. They're not. It's like maybe we're being Nazis by being, but that video that you just described, like we love that shit here. Like there, some mics are just only that. It's like now vulnerability. It's brave.
I gotta be honest. I fucking hate that.
Yeah, it's like there does need to be some punchline sometimes, guys. Set up, punch. Like I'm like the old dude that's like what about the jokes? And they're like, comedy is this now, and I'm like, I don't know though.
I think Asheville comedy is that now,
I
maybe.
Don't know. But Nanette, there's Kill Tony and there's Nanette. I don't know where we're at.
There's a middle ground somewhere, like, and that's everyone
spectrum
else
between the two.
Yeah, that's a great point too, because I think comedy in general sees a little bit of that more now. I think in our scene, and at this point, I'm damn near a 50% a Knoxville comic. I do as much there as at home. At least it's not my own show. Yeah. But between those two scenes, I see a little bit of that, but there is something to that too, where I go, there's a space for that, and that is beautiful. I'm glad you're doing that. We're here for comedy.
Gotta be some jokes.
Gotta be some jokes, or at least some.
With you, I would love it because you have jokes, you're funny, and you don't. I've never seen you do anything like that. So if I saw you do it, I'd be like, holy shit, I'm gonna go up and tell you like that. That was a risk and it was different. Yeah. But then there's some people here that's all I've ever fucking seen them do. So then if they just did like a one-liner that was even bad, I would go up and be like, yeah, good stretch. Like I think there's that kind of thing where it's like you're always wanting to kind of know your lane and not try to be what you're not. Yes. But then also each year be like, all right, like I haven't done the crowd work thing enough yet. Let's like that. I'm always kind of trying to figure that out. Yeah. Like, how do you stretch and grow? But then also, you are who you are.
Let me ask you about that, because I mean, you have a dry bar special. I think I at least know you as a relatively clean comedian. I don't know if you feel that way about yourself. Is that an internal battle for you where you go, inside I'm not? Because with me, a lot of my shit is like, my dad left, my grandpa, it's very like boyish. Inside, I'm a monster. Like I every thought I have is so dark and, or at least not dark, but just maybe pessimistic or like a very different angle than my
inside,
boyish.
You're holding a hammer. You're like
actually me.
Ready to fucking smash it.
The whole story is actually me.
Pretty twist at the Fight Club twist at the end of the podcast is you pull out a hammer and just smash it. Holy shit! It was he was the hammer the whole time.
It was me. I think I talk to Justin about this a lot, where I struggle with on stage when I watch myself, or if I listen to recordings, which I try to do. I sound too boyish. I sound too, I'm out here in the world. Wow, the world's crazy. That's not really who I am.
I don't really see you that way.
Oh, see, and Justin says the same thing. And he very smartly is like, the harder you push against that, it's inorganic when I come out there and I'm like, fucking, I just try to get aggro. It doesn't work. They don't want it from me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
even overtly
pulling
sexual
off
stuff,
aggro
nobody
is
wants
just.
it.
I think it's a small. People see Stanhope, and they go, yeah, that's
a
I'm
good
going to do it
example.
that way, and it's like people are coming with he's like a
Right.
singular, like being like
Right.
threatening and angry. I mean, even being like. Yeah, the clean. Like, do you consider yourself to be clean? I don't really think of you as being.
I don't. I think
like really dirty. I mean,
I can.
like, have you ever tried to do like sit down and go, all right, I'm doing a clean set.
Yes.
And like how long is the set? And do I like any of these jokes? Like, I think every comic should have to do that.
I
do
agree.
10 clean. And then maybe you go, I'm not a clean comic, which is what everyone says, which is why you can get booked more if you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you have like 10 where you can kind of do like,
I think I have 10.
maybe a hell or a damn, not in the first
Sure.
joke, but later. But you certainly don't drop F-bombs. There's no graphic drugs or sex.
Yeah.
The line is not as clear as they say.
Oh, it changes for every
It's all about
show,
trust.
every
Like if you're
producer,
like,
yeah.
I'm a dad and I love my kids and they're bitches, like that's clean usually because
Right.
they trust me, But if you're some like maniac, anarchist,
Right.
face tattooed, Asheville 20-something, then you call kids bitches and it's
You also don't want to come out of the gate with that energy, like you said too. Like bury it in the thing.
Start clean, build to dirty.
That's I would say
Close dirty.
part of the thing I do love about, and rarely can I even say that, but the thing I like about my set currently is that it does start off with that kind of boyish, oh, my grandpa had different strokes, like corny, grandpa-esque stuff. But then I have some stuff in there.
I don't think it's like you think it is, though.
Maybe
when you
it's
do
not.
that voice and stuff.
Maybe
I think that's like insecure,
Oh, it's absolutely
which is
insecure.
relatable. I mean, we never know. Like you never know how
Right.
you come across.
Yeah, that's honestly, I appreciate you saying that because that does relieve some. I mean, it won't make a difference at all, but I wish it did. I wish I could internalize what you said.
Yeah.
But later in my act, I do have some stuff that I think gets a little edgier or a little darker, or even maybe on the same subject matter. And so it has been. I consider it, like you said, kind of an exercise, like an important thing to go. Well, I got offered this clean show. I've done a show with Grampy. I think he's been on here before too, right?
Yeah.
Grampy. I've done a couple Grampy shows over the years, and
Is he still Grampy or is he Phil now?
he pivots. I think currently he's doing some Grampy stuff.
Okay.
He's doing some. It depends on
Sorry
what
to
he's seeing.
derail you, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe you pulled the mask off of him. You're telling the world, about Grampy.
You're the same guy.
Plot twist. He, great dude, and he's given me a lot of opportunity, especially early on. And so occasionally I will agree to a clean spot with him, and that is a challenge. But my stuff, I don't struggle to clean it up. If I take out a couple words, I'm probably fine.
Yeah, and then it's like, do those words need to be there?
Right.
I mean, I notice like my mic sets are never clean because I'm trying to fucking and then I get the laugh, like, and that's something that I have become aware of is that like I think most of the reason people aren't clean is because you're just trying to it's too quiet and you're trying to get something. So then if it goes in the act, I always try to clean everything up as much as I can, but then there are a few bits where it's just like, this is about smoking pot. The joke is that we call our daughters bitches,
It's got to be there.
So it's like, that is the joke, but those are just some jokes that I can take out, and then I do think the set's not quite as strong, but in general it's like, the longer you do it, like, why not try to clean it up? And then when you start seeing things through a clean filter and you just go sit at an open mic or a show anywhere, you go, none of these fuckers could do a clean set, so why not be able to play anywhere? Like, when you're selling, those are kind of the rules in the beginning. Is like, I think it's crazy to think that you can decide what you can cherry pick. It's like, I'll take any show. Like, I mean, none of us should be choosing. So being able to work clean just gives you more.
Definitely.
And there's some exceptions to that, but just generally, I think that 9 comics out of 10 at this level don't realize that they're saying shocking shit because the room would just be quiet the whole time without it.
For the sake of shock.
Yeah. Right. It's like, well, how much do you care about your craft? And like, the longer you do it, the more you might want to try to lean into clean. But having said that, the things that make me laugh the hardest, like Patrice O'Neill, or
so not clean.
Not clean. So I also am trying to reconcile that. I mean, there's just something funny about filthy shit.
That's I think Patrice is a great example too, because I sometimes I'll try to look at stand up as, obviously there's legends and there's huge influences for me. Patrice is another one. But I look at Patrice not as the comic, but as the milestone in stand-up comedy. What that, because it evolves over
Yeah.
time and it changes a lot. And I even off of some of my grandpa inspiration and stuff, I kind of, even after he's since passed away, I dive a lot into, I go backwards and I don't really give a shit about what's new. I like to go backwards. So in recent years, I've listened to, Jack Benny radio programs.
I love it.
From the 40s.
I love it because everybody's being ripping off the new comics.
Of course.
So if you're going to go back, you're going to have something
there's something
different. Yeah.
to rip. Well, more than that, I think I see the evolution of it. You go from Jack Benny to a Patrice, and you go, how do we go from there to there? How do we get there?
Yeah.
And I think that, to your point about clean comedy, I think that for so long, through maybe the 80s and some in the 90s too, comedy was a lot of Jerry Seinfeld's. It was a lot of that clean shit. And then you have like a Dice Clay that comes along and goes, fuck all that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be ridiculously filthy for no reason.
Yeah.
And now I think we've kind of landed somewhere in the mid. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like it's tough to make a career as a shock comic.
Yeah.
But it's also tough to do it as a clean comic until Nate Bargatze. And I think Nate is leaning things that way a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I love Nate. I mean, everyone does. Like, no one's like, Nate Bargatze.
Actually, I know a guy. I know a guy that fucking hates Nate
He's just saying that because he wants to be different.
Well,
that's like when someone's like, fuck the Beatles. They don't have any good songs. It's like, all right, there's got to be one guy that says it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you have an original.
Contrarian, sure, yeah. Well, the Nate argument, I think, is that a lot of people they're not clean comics, and a lot of the industry is not clean comics, and so that Kill Tony universe especially pushes back because it's just famine mentality. They just think there's not both.
Yeah.
There's both.
And I can feel after COVID, like, I mean, I do think Kill Tony is an interesting show and it's good, but I can feel that all the new comics just think that that's what it is, and it's just like rape, abortion, retarded, and it's just like, man, like it.
That's my act. You just did my.
that's everyone's act.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know, but
have you ever
fine.
been in that? Have you ever signed up or been around it at all, Kill Tony?
No, I mean, I was gonna go to Austin. I even like DM Tyler, and it got. Now I'm gonna wait till it cools off, but I do want to take that Allegiant flight out there and just experience all the horrors and highs and lows of it. But I mean, we dabble on the show. I haven't been out, but I'll sign up and not get on and experience all that. It seems like a hero's journey, part of our.
Exactly.
Have you been out there and done it?
So I've not done Austin. I've not been to Austin. Supposed to go early next year with Justin and Tyler and kind of do that whole Austin thing. I went when they were at Bridgestone in Nashville, and I called Justin, and I mean, to this day he gives me endless shit about going, because I would say a majority of the people who engage in that show and want to be a part of that universe are in it for dumb reasons, or they're just, in my opinion, they're terrible at comedy. A lot of them, it's their first fucking time,
I know,
and they save it for that. I don't know why.
So weird.
It's tough. So, but I'm such a curious guy. I wanted to see behind the curtain a little bit. I just wanted to see how it worked. And I mean, I don't know if you're interested in this conversation at all, but I got a real weird glimpse at it. Because I saw it in Bridgestone at the highest level, you know what I mean? Like 10,000 people, as opposed to normally it's whatever the big room in the mothership, say maybe 500 at the most. This is 10,000 people, and there's I forget how many hundred signups, maybe 400 signups, something like that. And normally it's about 200, so it's like double that. It's an arena show, and just the whole process was so interesting. So I show up, I drive down by myself because I'm the only one who's stupid enough to try to get on this show. Sign up, and we wait in line for hours outside of Bridgestone, and eventually we start kind of making our way in, and they go through this whole thing where they're the first question you get asked when you get there is how long you've been doing comedy. Hold up a number of fingers, and then whoever has the least amount, you're out. And they do it in groups of 10, and 7 of every 10 go through. So if you're in the bottom 3, you're out. And I was pretty close. I'm 3 years, but people fucking lie.
Yeah, right.
There's a couple guys in there where I was like, there's no way. 10 years, my ass.
It's a weird system.
Once a month for 10 years. You could just lie.
Yeah, and years don't even mean shit by that. That's a whole topic, too. Yeah, people that do it for 10 years, you come out 3 times a year.
Yeah. How many? Well, I've ran into that on the road where they're like, oh yeah, I'm a Knoxville comic. And I go, really? Do you know Justin Mays? No. Do you know Adam Aaron? No. Do you know Brandy Augustus? No. And I'm like, well, I just named the top 10 people in Knoxville. You don't know 'em.
I got a person in this scene that keeps being like, I started before you. I don't know why you're getting on more shows. I've been doing it for 13. I was like,
fuck that.
I've seen you 5 times since COVID. Like, I don't say it, but I'm like, it's how many reps?
Yeah.
And give to get. Like, if you ever run a show.
Right.
It's like
You give something
the
back.
years. When was your last set? It's like, oh, that was
Well, last
December
year, but
or
I
something.
crushed.
Yeah.
I've gotten that once before. I said, when was your last set? Well, like 3 months ago, but I fucking crushed that set. And I'm
You
like,
just immediately know you're like,
what
this
are
person
why are
didn't-
we talking right now? Exactly.
You didn't crush.
Wasting my time. And even if you did, who gives a shit? It's 3 months ago. You haven't touched a microphone. You're gonna bomb.
Yeah.
You're gonna bomb. Well, so it's a lot of that with Kill Tony. It's a lot of liars and terrible comics, and it's also become kind of like a novelty show where 50% of those guys have never done comedy, and then they go, but I can play the guitar, and then they bring out a guitar.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I wish they wouldn't do that. But I'm of the opinion that show it's still it's an avenue to a huge boost in your career.
Sure,
And I think it's become so mainstream that it's so not cool that a lot of comics I really respect and love who would pop on that show don't do it.
Yeah, it's like Rogan's podcast. Like nobody in this town will ever admit that they listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it is so much what comedy is.
Right.
That there's almost like what you're saying about Dice Clay kind of being the punk rock that burns the 70s down. Like either artists are kind of pretentious and want to be like, I don't like the thing that everybody likes. I have niche tastes.
Exactly.
I'm into people you've never fucking heard of.
Right. Well, the weird part is that stuff evolved. So one time that was Kill Tony. There was a time when comics were
I remember.
It's in the belly room. There's nobody there. There's a band on stage, Jeremiah Watkins is there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, they fucking do Bridgestone Arena, so fuck them.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about it.
Same with Rogan. It's like it's just so big that's
it's huge.
Yeah.
And the arena side of things is interesting because so after the hand thing, you go through and you sign your life away on the form or whatever. But the thing that really leapt out to me, because I watch, I'd say about every 4th episode of Kill Tony, I'll still check out just to kind of keep up to date. And I recognized all the staff from bucket pulls. So if you're a bucket pull and you're not a maniac, even if you don't have a great set, Tony gives you that job on the road.
I've heard he's super nice.
I've not.
Which is really okay.
I can tell you some other stuff. I've heard.
That sounds more true.
No, he's not nice. He's not nice.
Yeah.
Although, and I can't believe I forgot this.
How do you be nice when you're a massive?
You can't.
Every room, people are like, hey, why don't you fuck off? I'm eating with my family. It's like
you can't.
You
can't. So I bumped into him.
That's why we're so nice,
Right, because we have nothing going for us. Oh my God.
Please
be my
so
friend.
easy. Yeah, it's like the desperation. Yeah,
exactly. He has none of that. He's on top of the world. So I was down in the Gulch getting some lunch before it's time to go. So you sign up, and then you have to leave for like 5 hours. They're like, get out of here, come back at whatever time. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. I go get some lunch, and then my favorite coffee shop in Nashville, I Googled it, and there's actually a new one nearby. So I go walk over there, and I learn it's in the lobby of the Westin Hotel in Nashville. Very nice hotel. So I walk up to the door, and there's a sign that's like, go around, use other door, whatever, and I'm like pulling on the door, and from about where you're at, I just hear, door's over there, and I turn, and it's fucking Tony. And I'm like, I'm not like a fan of his. I don't care about his comedy at all, but it just shocked me because I'm like there for I didn't expect to see him right there.
And he's a huge deal.
And he's 3 feet tall, and he's wearing shoes that say MAGA across him.
He's real small?
Oh, he's tiny.
Oh, really?
Tiny.
Explains
I have a
so
picture.
much.
I'll show you.
Explains so much.
He's short.
That's why he's always sitting.
Yeah. He's short,
and he destroys everyone with words.
Exactly.
And he's sitting at a throne in charge of it. Yeah. Wow, that makes so much sense.
He's
little man,
tiny little feet, wearing MAGA branded shoes, just exactly what you'd expect Tony to do. And so I'm like, oh, thanks. And then I in that moment, I'm like, Tony, I just panicked, and he was like, yeah, and I go, I didn't know what to say. I go, I'm here for the show. I'm gonna sign up, and he goes, a lot of people are. Didn't give a fuck about it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go find that door now. And I just like tuck tail and run off or whatever. And then I'm standing inside and I'm like calling Haley, like, oh my God, I just ran into Tony, whatever. And it just like, I'm not a fan of his. It just really threw me. And it's like a weird serendipity thing. So she's like, well, did you, ask him for a spot? And I was like, fuck no, I'm not going to do that, But so don't see him again, and then I go, and they take you in, you sign your life away, and then they sit us all in this section up in the crowd. And apparently, a big thing for Kill Tony is you and your girlfriend want free tickets. She lies and says she's a comic too. You both sign up. You're in the stadium. You know what I mean? So
we got our reel.
Pro tip. But they're cracking down on it. They've realized that that's a problem. So like there's one guy that got pulled out of the bucket, and that's another thing too. the lady's name is, I think, Christy, and she comes out there and just yells at everybody in line before it starts. Like, if you're a musician and you think this is your chance, get the fuck out of here. I mean, she's like super aggressive, and she's like, if you were on last night, you missed your shot. If you bombed, I'm sorry. Get the fuck out. If I see you, you're out of here. So they're really like weeding people out. And then they put us up there. The bucket pulls were terrible. All of them were so bad in front of 10,000 people. And they all, like, a lot of them kept mentioning they were from Canada, which Tony's like a big MAGA guy. He doesn't love that, you know? And the that's his crowd, so they boo him. They said from Canada, of course. And then we get to the end. Bucket pulls haven't been great. And one guy said something kind of disrespectful about Tony. Oh, he said the guy was like, I forgot everything they told me when I was walking up here. And Tony was like, what? And he was like, I don't know what all they said. And he was like, who cares? And you're in front of 10,000 people, and the guy was like, he's like, well, they tell you a lot of stuff. I figured you know that since it's your show. Like, kind of aggressive. And so Tony takes offense to that, and he turns up to the crowd. The comics are up in the corner section, and he's like, you better fucking change your attitude, and you better kiss the ring. I am your god. The comic section went nuts. I was the only one sitting there like, what did he just say? Like, I realized in that moment, I'm a part of something I am not a part of. You know what I mean? They were like eating it up. The comics were like, he is our god.
I mean, it is just all the things you mentioned. Like, I mean, MAGA, that's fine. You know, like,
it's interesting.
It's like, and just
because that's not who I am.
And then there's the side where it's like, it's kind of a freak show. You're right. I mean, it's like if you have some kind of like disability that it's been so wrong to laugh at. It's kind of like the Dice Clay thing where it's like, it's like, well, here's all the things we haven't been allowed to laugh at. Yeah. Now it's on the internet. You know, it's like
100%.
So it is kind of, sometimes I'll be like watching it with Emily and my wife, and then we're just like, are we good people? What?
Right. Are we laughing at this? Well, to the disability thing you mentioned too, or the freak show aspect of it. So the bucket pulls are bad.
Disability is a better way of putting it. That's true. Edit that part out in post.
Disability is not the story I'm about to tell. So that's why this is not. This is a kid that was in the audience. They did 10 bucket pulls. They're pretty bad. A little bit here and there we're fine. And then at the end, he's like, these bucket pulls have been fucking terrible. We need to do one more. So he's like, who up there has been doing comedy the longest? And they start battling it out, raising their hands, whatever. And he pulls one of them down. But in the meantime, a kid in like the front row holds up a sign that says, tonight's my first time doing comedy. So Tony's like, is your mom here? Is she okay with it? Yes. They get him up there. The kid goes up. Everybody's like, we already knew. All the comics were leaving. They were like, I'm fucking out of here. This is crazy. The kid goes up. The first words out of his mouth when he gets the microphone is, thank God I'm not from Canada.
It's murderous.
Crushed. 10,000 people. Crushes. And
that poor kid's never going to do anything in his life.
Never.
That gets that much validation.
He did a couple like little kid jokes, you know, like, my school, my whatever. It does fine. Tony gives him the golden ticket. It gives him a spot at the Madison Square Garden show in Austin. So like all the actual reputable Nashville comics I know, most of them did not go. But the few that did were like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I could see that because it's like, there's that kind of thing where it's like, well, Tony's this comic who's made it to the top. Why is he not helping people that deserve it? But then it's also like, well, this show's massively successful because he's doing everything wrong.
Exactly.
It's a freak show. It's like disabilities.
whichever term you prefer.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, just feeling it, kind of making the mics I'm at be not what I wanted. And then there was that one last year where people at work that like don't even usually say things like this, or like they did the Biden-Trump one, you know, and they're like, you have to watch, and we like,
it was huge,
and we watched it, and it was like the greatest thing we'd ever seen. So
it was great.
So then we just started watching it, and then I was like, fuck, this is pretty interesting. And I was like, 1 minute doesn't even count, but then I watched it, I'm like, actually 1 minute is kind of an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and every now and then,
after the election, it was just like,
oh my God.
I was like, all right, we just gotta,
with fucking Elon.
I was just like, we got it. It's just, I don't know. I'm starting to like dream about it. I'm starting to like draw. It's like, it's just so extreme. It's like watching like extreme porn or something.
It's extreme.
It's just like, it's exactly nothing
like
else
that.
even feels like it's happening.
Right, like normal porn doesn't even do anything for you anymore. Like, comedy sucks.
Exactly.
We need to be saying retard porn.
Yeah. So I would kind of felt like it was like warping my taste.
It's exactly like that.
Like it's like everything has to be like meth now.
Every now and then, still on the show, a comic will get in the bucket and get pulled that is from Chicago or is from somewhere and does grind, and you could tell it was actually a good comic, and maybe they get a free spot at the secret show at Red Band's show, or maybe they go in sometimes he sends them straight upstairs to the other room for you get to see him.
Does that really do anything for him in the long run? I don't
think so, because you never see him again in the mothership post.
But it's also like, maybe if you are a comic, like I've worked at it for 10 years and I did stuff like Tony doesn't owe me.
No.
I'm not gonna be like, why? Actually, I probably would be for like that day. I'd be like, I should have gotten on, but it's like
a lot of people feel that way.
That's not the way he's doing it, and it's the biggest show ever, and it's like. I don't know. It's like it's like that ego thing again. It's like, who's it for? It's like it's just for him and his audience. It's not for it's not for my career.
Right.
It's for his career and his audience.
And a lot of times you become the butt of the joke on the show. Even
you
if
have more to lose the longer you do it too, because it's like if it's your first time, it's like I mean, of course you bombed and you did well. That's cool. But if you're actually like working on, you can still just walk up, bomb. And then have them rip you apart, and you're like, "There's nothing I'll ever do that will be witnessed more." Than
that. That's my claim to fame.
So I do plan to go and sign up. In the back of my mind, I'm like, this could be like the most visible and worst thing that ever happens. I mean,
more to lose is an interesting point too, because I when I was there actually at the stadium, I was talking with another Nashville comic who's one of the few like Zanies guys that was there and signed up, and I said, I'm surprised you're here, and he was like, why? And I said, I feel like nobody in this city that cares is going to be here. And he said, yeah, most of them are. And he goes, and I felt that way too. And he was like, do you mind if can we talk about this? So we like walked off, and he was like, I'll tell you why I changed my mind. He's like, I'm at a point where I'm starting to get some traction, and I'm a Zanies comic or whatever, but I don't have a whole lot to lose. And then he gave some other examples of guys we know who are Nashville comics that tour with big fucking headliners, opening, stadiums or theaters or whatever. They have a lot to lose. He's like, one bad set on Kill Tony, and they're never opening for whoever ever again.
And isn't that interesting? Like, I wonder if there are stories, like, I'd like to see a little documentary on or a podcast on the people who was going pretty good till I went on Kill Tony, and
I'm sure it happens.
Because that
well, one guy killed
maybe
himself.
I won't go on. I'm thinking about it.
What? One guy committed suicide because Tony was so, and he wasn't like achieving a whole lot. He was kind of a new comic too, but they were so ruthless to him.
But he probably was.
He was going to do it. 100%. He was going to do it. But
now you're like, I can make it somebody else's fault.
They used that to try to pull Tony down for a while.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that was like,
and I bet
holding the show back.
Made him more. Let's put some more controversial attention on him to destroy him. It's like, guys, what are you?
Yeah. They don't understand.
It's like when NPR is like, let's say Trump's name every 30 seconds for the next 4 years to make sure he's not reelected. It's like, we'll see how that goes.
We're going to eliminate him from the public eye by putting his picture on screen every night. Like, Tony's the same way. I mean, how much the Puerto Rico thing, where they're like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
He fucking crossed the line this time. As big as they get. Yeah. I mean, that was the final spark that sent him to the moon. Yeah. So, I'm not a fan of his comedy. I don't even know if I'd say I'm a fan of the show, but I think it's fascinating.
It's like Theo Von or something, where it's like, I don't think everyone's like, his comedy is. I haven't actually even seen it, but man, when he interviews the lunch lady for 2 hours, it's like
exactly.
It's like the comedy has taken over the culture so much that it's like you don't even have to like do stand up. That doesn't have to be the thing anymore.
Nope.
Which is kind of just
There's
interesting.
Like all these stand up adjacent pathways too.
Yeah.
It's like I'm kind of in that world, but even podcasting, or like the example of my guy in Myrtle, he's a producer of a Don't Tell Comedy City.
Yeah.
Never done an open mic.
Why? I wonder why he's. Why are you setting up chairs if you're not trying to get on the stage?
I literally said, so you have no selfish intention for producing the show? And he was like, no. And I was like, you're fucking weird, bro. Like, the only reason I'm doing my show is so I have a show.
Yeah,
you know
of course.
I mean, everything else is a bonus, but it started as there's no shows for me here. Let's do one.
You're in the secret society of Don't Tell Bookers, right?
Yeah. Dude, we have meetings.
I mean, that's how it should be. You give to get. It's like y'all are setting up chairs. People are your own scene.
Yeah,
is never going to be the same towards you.
Oh my god! Let's go down that rabbit hole.
They don't tell you that.
Fuck
They're like,
me. It's going to cost you a lot.
It's going to cost you a lot. So it's like you've earned.
Yeah.
That.
Right. It's like, everybody you thought was your friend, well, they're still going to talk to you like they're your friend, but at the end of the conversation, they're going to be like, before you take off, I would love to do a spot. on your show.
And then you're like at the mic
Fuck
trying to
me,
stop.
man.
Like, does Nathaniel see my set? Because he's
Yep.
gotta,
Dude, I get that one all
he
the
could
time.
change my life by putting me on.
I get that one which is so sad anyways, but I get that one all
Yeah.
the time where I'm like, I was outside smoking or whatever, and they come out and they're like, what'd you think of that tag? I'm like, I don't know, I didn't watch it. And they're like, what the fuck? You're supposed to be like scouting. And I'm like, no, I'm here for me.
Yeah.
I'm at the open mic. Stop asking me for spots. Another pro tip to anybody listening.
Would you undo it if you knowing what you know now? Yeah.
Nope.
Because it has
Nope.
but it comes at a price. It has
Yeah.
expanded your world. Like you've gotten out
so much.
so much more, met more people, had more opportunities,
Yeah.
but you're never the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I even feel that in this scene, just being like having filmed a special and doing a podcast and
Yeah.
getting out more, that it's like most of the comics just hang out at the mics, and there's kind of, I only have so much energy. So the more I give to like these other things, the more it's like I kind of am a little bit of like a stranger in my own scene or
Yep.
something, which is like, I didn't realize that.
I can relate.
I kind of thought like, everyone will just be happy for me and I'll bring more of that back, and
Yeah.
and it's like, no, it's a double-edged sword.
How many? I'm kind of curious because I mean I've done a few shows over here over the years, but I don't know a ton about the scene. Just what I hear. So how many comics would you say you have doing like 3+ open mics a week over here?
Oh, I mean,
Like more than 20?
well, that's a good. I would say it might be about that much.
That's enough for a scene. I mean,
Oh
'cause
yeah.
at Blue Ridge, there's probably
Yeah.
20+ on the
Yeah.
list every Wednesday,
Yeah.
but for a lot of those folks, that's it.
Yeah.
And then even for, I'd say the other 80% of those people, there's 2 mics a week for them. Whereas like
Yeah.
myself and some others are on the road for weekend shows,
Yeah.
and so I may miss mics at times, but I'm doing more numbers of shows,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But in this city, I mean, 20 is huge.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's 20, like just going to a mic each week and doing more. I mean, as
Yeah.
far as like if you're actually hitting all 3 consistently, that's probably like of those 20-ish, it's like there's probably like a dozen that are like, which I respect,
For sure.
And then of those dozen that he grinded out so consistently, there's the 2 that'll never be funny.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing in the
Oh,
world.
Jesus. Thank you for bringing it up. Let's say their names. Let's tell the world. Let's
Like,
get it out there, dude.
The worst when you think
We'll put this on the
you think you did
Patreon.
well
Let's
when you
fucking-
didn't. Yeah, it's like
Let's name drop.
some people are funny faster than others. I think there's
Yeah.
a virtue in slowly and steadily getting there. I think that's almost better in a way, because maybe that's my path and I'm trying to rationalize that.
No,
but,
I agree with
But
you.
then there's ones where it's like you just don't. It's just not ever.
Right.
You don't see them for a month and you come back and they're doing that same 5 minutes. Completely sucks, and it's the most tragic thing in the world.
They never
now.
work
And I look
at
at
it.
that and I'm like, God,
Yeah.
I hope I'm not like that in any aspect of my
Yeah.
life. That you can be oblivious
That you just said.
to your own bullshit,
Right.
and everyone else knows.
Oh.
And you're just walking
There's
through
nothing that
life being
haunts
like,
me
we're
worse.
comics. I'm a comic. You're a comic. We all have jokes, and everyone's like,
No, you're not. Yeah. Well, there are different. I think it depends on how that person puts that out into the world. Like I have a comic friend in Bristol who she's at the at Blue Ridge every week, just about, and she helps out on the weekends sometimes, and she does guest spots on shows or even feature spots or host at times. And she will, if you ask her, she goes, I just like getting away from my husband. Once a week, I come out, I have a glass of wine,
Hell
I have
yeah.
a good time, and I write new jokes, and I fuck around. And
She's
I
a
bomb
genius.
a lot. I love that. And I love that she
that's
says
the
that.
attitude. That's the winning attitude. Really.
They don't all feel that way.
Yeah.
Though. Some of them are like, I'm a comic, and I do this once a month, the same 5, and I bomb, and I'm a comic. That bothers us, I think, because we work so hard and care so much about it.
Yeah.
It's like it's a slap in the face, kind of, to be like, we're all the same, right? It's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not the same.
Yeah, that's
not that I'm better
really
than you, but you
unforgivable.
don't put into it what I do.
I mean, comedy is inherently about awareness and reading the rooms and being, and that's the great gift of it, is even if you never transcend your scene into shows, or that you are like at work, I can like get to the point quicker.
Right.
I can read the room better than I would.
Yeah.
And it's a gift that is like a priceless gift,
Yeah.
that even if I quit comedy now, I could take that with me on my journey.
Oh my God.
So-
Especially when you work with like layman, like non-comedy people. Like I work at a credit union, so it's all old white ladies.
Yeah.
It's literally my whole office.
Yeah, you got a bit
and
about
they
that.
think I'm a fucking superstar.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
I and I'm not running bits on these ladies or anything, but just my quickness and my ability to conversate or get to the point, like you said, is they're like, what is this guy, a
Cut
magician?
through the bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a magician,
that's
because
great.
they're used to corporate America, and it's just so stupid. I mean, that's a nice contradiction to my nightlife too, like you were saying. Like, it's a nice balance to the chaos. It's like I'm at a cubicle for 8
you can't go
hours.
too far into the coke after parties because you have to be at the job in the morning. So
there.
I think the two worlds kind of sit nicely together. Or again,
I
I
struggle
just
with it,
that's
but-
my story because I can't get out of
You're
it.
locked.
I mean, I could, but
Yeah.
it would not. There's no graceful exit.
There is no graceful exit. That's true. Nobody's ever going to be like, you're not going to believe how gracefully Ryan abandoned his family to pursue.
And then he went on Kill
crazy
Tony
thing.
and killed himself.
Yeah, for real. For real. Well, that path too of the Kill Tony path is so mainstream, and I would almost use Nate Land as like the opposite example.
Yeah,
where it's become
right.
that mainstream. Like
Yeah.
my grandma watches his clips.
Yeah.
People watch his Facebook shit, or like the Nate Land podcast is very successful.
Yeah.
There are those two, like that balance and ecosystem we're talking about exists whether people want to love
It's
it
like
or
the
not.
left and the right. It's like these.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's
It's
like
both
these
there.
two. Yeah, Marvel and DC.
And the more time you spend just like, it should only be one. Why?
Yeah.
Why should
Why?
it only
Yeah.
be one? Just learn, like you said, with the ability to write clean, learn how to navigate both and just take full advantage of both.
Yeah, like I got a gig coming up. I'm gonna do a spot next week at a comedy cabana.
Hell
at
yeah.
Myrtle Beach.
In Myrtle, yeah.
Because it wasn't a don't tell while I'm gonna be. Oh shit! Now I can't post this because I'm gonna get robbed while I'm.
Yeah. Just show up to the cabana.
It's actually in August I'm talking about, but
It's much later.
yeah, but they were like, you got to read the room. There might be kids there and stuff. Just like the nightmare for most people I know. But I'm like, I just kind of like sketched out like, here's some dry bar-y stuff I could do that I think I would still feel good because I kind of burned a lot of that doing it.
Sure.
But then I'm also doing going to feature at JJ's this summer too, and I love that room, and that's like a very alt room. It's like at the odd and
super.
The last time I did that room, I was like. I kind of like did some dad material, and I was like, okay, this is like, so I love that I have like two things on the horizon that feel to me like the opposite. Like I like to try to see if I can, it's like there's a few overlapping jokes, but mostly they're two different jokes.
Right.
Like I really like that. I like to kind of going like, what does the situation need? It's not. I'm just trying to work and get better. Like I will do my best to adapt. I will say yes to anything really.
Right.
That's
an artist.
I'm not like,
to
I'm
me.
a genius. I work this way. It's like, and then you just don't have any fucking shows. I know plenty of people like that too.
Yeah. That's an artist.
Waiting for the world to come to me. Well, good fucking luck.
Have fun waiting.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is a business.
Exactly.
These people have rooms. They have a reputation.
It's a business, and it's also like a fucking high school classroom sometimes.
That's true.
Where you're
It's
like,
also
can we
so not a
please-
business.
Can we please just drop it or what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's whole cities that are like at odds against each other over something somebody did.
That's
or
why
like
I
a
have fantasies of moving. It's because I just want to reset. I want to go somewhere. When you go to like Knoxville and you're just like, oh, everybody gets along, and you don't know.
Well, I was about to say. Let me just.
I actually know enough about Knoxville. That's not even true. I gotta go like to Nashville now. You gotta get farther to be like.
Maybe a worse example. Honestly,
Right.
it is like any scene where there's opportunity. So I think that's the thing about the Tri-Cities is there's not a ton of opportunity. There's connections to be made, like through my show or through Don't Tell or through Blue Ridge. You can meet headliners, you can find opportunity and get guys on the road. But as far as like nobody's blowing up as a Bristol comedian, you know what I mean?
Right.
So Knoxville is like a step maybe above that, and then Nashville's above that. And because I'm starting to kind of head in that direction and see both of those cities, it is interesting that it's like I go back and forth on it. Is it just there's more comics, so there's just more assholes?
Yeah.
It's a ratio,
Yeah.
or is it that the opportunity really brings out these sick parts of
I wonder that too.
people?
Like when I go to Atlanta, which I try to go there
Same
once a
thing.
year, and I'm like, do I even need to go this year? It's so hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many funny people. There's so many assholes there.
Good Lord.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I tried to get on the sign-up sheet for this one mic. I just threw a mic in, and it was like,
At the Skull?
no, it was at Smith's Old Time Bar.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like I was there an hour early, but the list didn't drop till later. And by the time it dropped, it's like people are
Shoving
I was
each
like,
other.
hey, I've been here, so it's like weirdly aggressive trying to even get on it.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got up to do my 3 or 4 minutes, all the TVs are on. Nobody's fucking paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's Atlanta.
is this?
Have you done the Skull at all?
Yeah, I did the Skull mic once.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
It was good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I'm trying to drive that far for 4 minutes and no money. I'm like, I'd love to go back to the Skull, but I'm like, I taped a goddamn special. It's been 10 years, like, but it is the Skull. So
Give me something.
I think I'd like to I'd throw that in with like another show or a few days. But yeah, it's like to drive there and back just for that again. I am trying to go like.
Well, it's all about who's there too. And
that's my ego though. I'm like, I should be better than that. It's like, but are you though? Yeah. You got to look in the mirror and be like,
after 10 years, I think you've earned the ability to go, I'm not getting a hotel and leaving my family for 2 days for 4 unpaid minutes. That feels reasonable.
I would drive back that night and I definitely wouldn't get the hotel. That's not happening.
Well, I had to do that recently because I got the opportunity to do the Skull Mic, and I know some Atlanta comics that were going to be there and stuff, so I was going to mingle, and I got, just because of the seating of the Skull and shit, I got pushed back to that backstage area, and they have, for anybody who doesn't know, they have a separate green room for real comics where they hide and ignore all the open micers who are backstage, and I was kind of in this corner where I couldn't see that door and blah blah blah. So like my one friend down there, I guess her friend maybe, is Nick Murphy. I don't know if you know Nick. Fucking fantastic. One of my favorite comics I've ever worked with. And I knew Nick was in the building, but I didn't ever quite get to see him. So I literally like drove to Atlanta, got a hotel, checked in, did that, 3 minutes, nobody gave a shit. Yeah. Sleep at the hotel, drive home for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Where
that's
it's
mostly what it is.
I don't think that's ego to go, is that worth it?
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that's just my bank account going, that's not worth it. It's not.
And I did do that. I did do it one time more like that. So now I'm like, do I need to go back and do it that way? But then I'm also like, do I ever expect to be on that stage any other way? I don't. I would like that. But then when I say that, I go, well, now of course I'm not, because I'm like, I live in Asheville. I'm like, I'm not manifesting it by being like, I'm not visualizing myself being
I will say, you don't have enough crystals in this room. That's actually what I was thinking to myself, is this room could use a few more crystals.
Well, I'm from Tennessee originally.
That's
I
right.
grew up
it
in
shows.
Oak Ridge.
It shows. That's why I like it. I think that's what
I was like, I moved here because I was too gay for Tennessee. I mean,
same.
Which has come a long way.
Same,
and now it's like, I'm just like, hey, maybe it's fine to have a MAGA comic on the show and we'll learn something. And everybody here's like,
no,
what are you, a Republican or something? Like, I'm like, I'm like aging out. I'm like, fuck. Like,
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's
like, it's
like mob mentality.
Whatever happened in the middle? Like, it's
well, the
it's
truth is, if
everyone's
they were
like trying to like just bring up Trump and then be like, I need to know what side you're on. So if I hate you or you're my best friend, and I'm like,
Christ.
I just kind of like I get both sides.
I would not fare well over here. I gotta tell you the truth, because I just don't give a fuck. Like, I have my own political beliefs, I have my own opinions about every issue, like everybody does, but why I feel the need to tell you about it, or much, God forbid, tell an audience about it, I don't give a fuck, and I have no interest in changing your mind or making you see it from my perspective. If you don't, you're probably never gonna. You know what I mean? You're just not gonna.
And I think there's an arrogance that is very off-putting to me. It's like, it's like all the woke shit you're saying now ain't gonna be the right shit when you're my age, and there's gonna be new ones. They're going to try to take you down. So you're investing in this culture that's going to bite you later.
Exactly.
And it's like these folks out in the country who are doing a clean show that maybe aren't down with trans yet.
Right.
Like, have you really made an attempt to go to one of their events and understand their culture?
Yeah.
You're just going like, they don't read, they're dumb. It's like, they're not dumb.
They live in Oklahoma.
And if the shit hits the fan... those are the smartest fucking people around. Like, those are some strong fucking people.
Well, we saw that. You would probably have a better perspective on this, but during Helene, I mean, the fucking rednecks came out and
beautiful.
Swooped into this blue city and painted it red for a couple weeks.
Chainsawed up the trees.
Chainsawed it. Who would have thought?
No one patronized me about how dumb I am. They just helped and left. I'm like, I don't know. It seems like we should be friends with them.
Who would have thought?
Seems like
who would have thought?
Those are some strong fucking people, Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting.
Those are some strong people.
Asheville's interesting too, because it's a blue city, totally surrounded by the reddest of the red.
Yeah.
So I think that is. It's almost like you're in this weird incubator, whereas like in my area where it's all relatively red. I mean, I would say Johnson City's a college town, so it has some natural.
Yeah, you got that one coffee shop where you can
There's
put
one
up
gay
communist
coffee shop.
propaganda on the walls.
Sure, we got our outlet. Everybody needs an outlet. But by and large,
someday we'll close that gay communist coffee shop down and make this town proper.
They're picketing, let me tell you. People are pissed about gay coffee. Well, the funny part about being home too is like, I grew up there, so I've seen the evolution of it also, just like I'm sure you've seen Asheville change. But politically, I don't think, I think it gets a weird rep, and this is actually kind of a broader point, I guess, to the South, which is, I grew up in the South. I've traveled. I've seen all the country now on my own and experienced new things, but something about the South does feel like criminally misrepresented to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
If you go up north, they're like a bunch of fucking toothless racists.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? There is that.
Yeah.
But there's also that up north. There's assholes everywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
And my wife's from rural Pennsylvania. And like, it's more redneck.
That's the South. Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking so redneck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they all love guns and
country music,
hunt, and it's just like I'm like, holy shit, that's not even like, it's like more southern than most of the South, like or at least the cities. So it's not. It is weird that there's that bias, and when you travel, you do realize that they think we're dumb.
They know we're dumb. Yeah,
and experiencing that makes you come back down here to Asheville and be like, well, maybe I shouldn't assume people are dumb,
right?
And that
just lighten up a little.
Yeah. I love going to like that church in South Carolina that does a comedy show and trying to see like how these jokes that started at the Odd in an alt room with face tattoos fair there. I mean, I think that's like the problem right now is there's people aren't cross-pollinating. We're siloed, and we'll be like, there's dumb idiots over there.
Right.
And then like one of them tries to come into the mic, get them out of here. It's like,
exactly. Yeah.
We're inclusive. Get them out of here. It's like, what the fuck is this?
It doesn't work.
No.
Well, at least all of my favorite comics too. Like I think Bill Burr may be the most prominent example of like that guy did black shows in Harlem. For most of his career. Yeah. That's why he's fucking great in any room, because he went somewhere where he's not welcome, he's not typically, and is not expected, and found a way to make it work. I did
Fish Out of Water.
Fish Out of Water, exactly. And I do, most of my stuff is East Tennessee or, over here a little bit, and some Don't Tells out of the state or whatever, but for the most part, I do Southern white guy shows. I know that I'm incubated in.
That's what all our shows are.
It's what
even here. I mean, we try to act like it's not, but it's
true. I don't know. They don't like me over here.
The scene is majority Southern white guys, but that's not to say that there's not bookers that book the vast majority of shows that are really not into that.
Right.
And they're like, I already got more than I need in town.
Yeah.
I'm not taking more cis white guys from out. Yeah, like
exactly.
And then they expect more money, and I don't know them, so it's
that's tough too. And I mean, Justin and I, and I'll throw in maybe Travis Stevenson, who's fucking fantastic. Love that guy. The three of us are somewhat of a trio, just in that we share information with each other. We're all very close. I think we're kind of like,
you got your shit together.
We're in this together.
You're all
mentality.
like you're funny, but you're easy to work with, and you got your shit together.
Well, we come from an area where not everybody has their shit together, and there's very few of us that even do it to begin with. So we've kind of banded together to share information and help each other along. And those two guys are far ahead of me. They've got a year plus on me as far as time doing it, but they're super helpful to have around.
And I see you guys are all out in the road.
We're all doing
You're
stuff.
Not sitting at home just bugging that one booker, complaining.
Right. And between those two, I get a pretty good. It's tough because the three of us are three straight white dudes with beards. We have different material, but to be like, hey, the three of us are in town. Do you mind tacking the three of us on this show?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it.
No.
Nobody's going to do it. Even I struggle with it because, in my area.
One of you has to get out and let Brandy get in.
Exactly.
Somebody else has to get out.
Dude, I had this exact conversation
Keith,
with Don't Tell.
Yeah.
Keith is welcome. Keith can do whatever the fuck Keith wants.
Yeah.
I had this exact conversation with Don't Tell where pretty early on they were like, we love your lineups, sales are good, everything's good, but maybe a little more diversity on your lineups. And I said, I can do that, but budget and diversity are going to very much teeter for me. Those two things are contrary to each other.
I've got a pool of people around me.
I've got to pay somebody to drive from 6 hours away if you want a trans comedian on my show. And that's not because, we don't have diversity.
We got some trans comics.
Well, that's true. Maybe 2 hours, whatever it is. And I have no problem with booking whoever. It's just
we have more trans comics than people of color.
That's true. I was actually going to ask you that.
It's kind of weird that that's like we got trans covered here. Like,
that's true. People talk about black rooms. You got trans rooms covered. You got trans rooms.
There's a whole trans circuit.
Have you a trans network? I'm not in that one. They don't
Atlantic.
like me. Have you done any like overtly black rooms or a scene that feels so different to that?
I've done one black room, and I would love to do more black rooms, but I just don't know how to.
Where? Yeah.
And I don't expect to do well in them, or
Yeah.
at least at first, or maybe ever. But I really enjoyed. I went to Charlotte and did a black. There's a lot of black comedy there,
Yeah.
and
Raleigh
I was just
too.
like, wow, this is like just could not be 2 hours away. Yeah, Raleigh. I mean, Atlanta is like
Atlanta.
very. Yeah, so it's like it's really nice to because I mean, like,
well, it's so different, right? It's so foreign, and it is scary. But the
TVs were on. No one. I mean, not even just me. It's like. It was like, we're not even going to pay attention at this particular mic until you like break through. And it was just like, I mean, that, driving home from that bomb was I was like, this is some new information.
Is that a no music drive home? No music drive home.
Yeah, right. Just the Griffins,
just
white
you and the tires.
Yeah.
Well, I did a show in New Orleans about a year ago. I was down there. I go down there a couple times a year, try to. And they had a club at the time that is since closed, but they were great. And I reached out to their email, and the don't tell thing is way more fucking leverage than it should be. I mean, those two words means a lot to a lot of people, and I honestly, it shouldn't. You're taking us way too serious, because there's a couple don't tell producers that
it's a magical 2 words.
Yeah,
I mean,
forget it.
Yeah, I'm sure people abuse it.
People abuse it.
I'm sure there's many sexual favors that have been given.
Oh yeah, that's every booker.
But yeah, that's just booking. That's not don't tell.
Yeah, the amount of dick that I've sucked for shows is God.
I don't even run a don't tell.
I mean, even just to get on this podcast, you guys wouldn't believe what I had to do. It's a lot. But no, so I did New Orleans, and
kiss the ring.
Right. I was the only white guy, not on the lineup, in the crowd, in the building. I was it. And then my girlfriend was sitting out in the crowd, and I have no problem with that. I'm comfortable in that environment. They were very welcoming, and everybody was nice. But backstage, a lot of the comics were like, what do you talk about? And I was like, I don't know, it was at the sea. And they were like, no, really. Like, what do you tell us? And I kind of told, like,
Andy Griffith,
Andy Griffith, exactly. And they're like, good luck. Good luck. So I knew that. Obviously, some of that shit's not going to hit. That did, by the way. Andy Griffith, they liked it. But
it's timeless, right?
It's timeless. And everybody grew up. It's the South.
Be as white as you can be. Don't try to be like,
okay.
At the last minute, you're like, all right, I'm talking about Obama, Kanye.
Yeah. So there's two lanes, and I was very divided in my head of, do I go like tuck my shirt into my shorts like, boy, tuna casserole, because they love that shit.
Yeah.
That'll pop.
Yeah.
Or do I just try to be myself and try to make... So I settled on that, and I tried. And the guy before me was a very funny black comic from New Orleans, and he was talking about gay chicken, where he's like, that's when you like go to kiss your friend, and the last one that pulls away is gay. They weren't digging it. They don't like the gay shit. So like a moron, I go out there, and I'm like, hey, sorry I'm late. I was backstage playing gay chicken with that guy. Why I riffed on it, I just heard it bomb.
I've done that.
Dude, the guy in the front row, big black dude, like stretched out, just he's at home here. I said, sorry, I was back there playing gay chicken with that guy, and he goes, no. Loud. And I was like, what? I mean, and I was like, what? And he goes, huh? And I was like, oh, I forgot y'all don't play around with that gay shit down here, huh? And he was like, nope. Next. That's what he said, is next. And I was like, oh, I just panicked, dude. It turned out to be fine, but oh my God.
Just the first seconds, too. It just goes horribly off the rails.
Right, because I could go, hey, I'm white, boy, I don't belong here. Yeah. And that probably worked, but I didn't want to.
What a great experience, though,
It was
it's like a new kind of bomb. That's like goes back to that thing, that person who's, that rare person who's bombing the same way. You're like, oh my God, there's nothing less forgivable than that. Like,
boy.
I mean, I would love to do more black rooms. I've said that on here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have black comics on. I'm like, how do I get there? Like, oh.
Yeah. They're like, we can't do it either.
I'm over here doing your podcast. Clearly, I don't know how
to. You still live in Asheville. Yeah. But I got a couple trans rooms if you want to do one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have none of that back home. God bless Brandy Augustus. I mean, and Keith too. Those two are
so funny,
so fucking funny, and so important.
Yeah.
To that Knoxville scene.
Oh,
that, they add, and not just because of the diversity, their comedy, their perspective.
It's nice when you cover the diversity and you didn't realize it. You're not like, all right, we got to get some unfunny black person on this show. You're like, oh yeah, I guess it was diverse. I was just going for funny. And then you have Brandy talking about a trans kid. So you have a black comic talking about. So it's like John Pruitt. It's like
Pruitt,
you profile someone from that culture as being like anti-trans,
right?
And then they come out with like some fucking tearjerker trans kid material, and you're like, damn, this is art,
Well, he does.
Some people are mad, some people love it. This is happening now.
He will do that, and he does it in the best way, I think. Where as soon as he comes out, a lot of times the first thing he says is, I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. Like he sets it right there. And I kind of do a similar version of that too. But Brandy and Keith both are not. Brandy actually, in her, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, works for like a foundation. She's like a big part of black rights and social justice. there's not a ton of that in her comedy. There is some of it, and it does come up, but she's not up there going, I'm the black comic tonight, get used to it.
Yeah.
She's there because she's fucking hilarious, and she has something to share. And Keith, I would almost say, even more so, like that is absent from Keith's set. Keith's whole set is just his thoughts and who he is, and God, how great is he?
Yeah, it was saying when he came on, like I love that when I've seen him, he opens with the "I'm an empath" joke, you know. So it's already like it's that thing we're talking about where you see this, you know, black guy with like bouncer energy, and he's like, I'm an empath, and you're like, all right, that's just kind of that's a punchline itself. Like the setup was me making assumptions falsely about somebody, and then they say the opposite, and it's like you're already kind of, you could feel people like lean in,
right?
And then he's got the closer about the monuments in Richmond. I think that's just a great
put up a statue.
It's like it hints at something like profound, but it's silly.
Exactly.
It's like my favorite jokes where you're not like beating people over the head with "I'm smart,"
right?
But then I'm driving home, and you're like, oh fuck, I think I see the world a little different now.
Take it home with
even though it was kind of silly at the time.
Yeah. Those are the best jokes.
Yeah.
Well, to Brandon and Keith too are, in a way, I think that they just about every damn show they do, because they live where we do, is what my experience at that black show in New Orleans is, where they do kind of have to address it.
Yeah, right.
Or they can, or they can't, you know, they have to make that decision. And both of them handle that so well. And they're so important to our scene. And we have some female comics too, like Meredith Kerr, who are so important to the scene too, because at the end of the day, as a booker, I can't do every show as just 5 white dudes that I think are funny.
When I see the flyer and my head by another 4 white dudes, I'm like,
rough show.
It's not gonna be good for anyone. Even the 5 white guys show up like, fuck.
Unless that crowd is there for that particular niche of humor, and they get it 5 times in a row, they're gonna love it. But the odds of that are not.
It is weird though, as I dabble more in the clean and the country and the older, like, they don't seem to mind when it's 5 white guys. Like they
don't give a
traditional
fuck.
Is a little more like, well, of course it is.
Yeah.
You know,
right? Like, who else would be up there?
There's the head of the household. God the Father is the white dude with the beard. Like
we don't let them speak. Yeah.
So I'm like, well,
of course.
Hey, when in Rome, that's fine.
Yeah, sure. Well, adjusting to that, I think, is as important as adjusting to a city like New Orleans, where it's very different for me. You know, it's obviously easier because 99% of the shows I do, the crowd pretty much agrees with my identity, or I'm from there, so I relate to them in some way. But yeah, finding those things that kind of cross those boundaries is something not every comic tries to do, but I think it's super fucking important.
So important. Even if I end up not even keeping any of those jokes in my act, like going into that place, you're gonna bring something back with you when you talk about Skittles, even you know, because you like, whoa, that's where the line was, or oh, that's the.
They don't like Skittles. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew?
Black people hate
they
Skittles.
Hate Skittles. Is that a thing? Is that we just started it? That's a rumor we just started. I'm gonna get a call from Keith. It's like, you're so fucking stupid. Yeah.
You're like, oh, you listened to the whole thing? That's great.
You made it to this part.
We are at like 2 hours.
Damn,
we should wrap up
that's
on that
great.
now. But
let's do it.
We did it, didn't we?
Let's do it. We did it.
Well, thanks for being on,
dude. Thank you so much. Anytime.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just rambled for 2 hours.
You don't have to apologize.
Felt like maybe
it was great.
Maybe it was an easy one for you because you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Talk the whole
I mean,
time.
we always get into it. There, a lot of times people will sit down and they look terrified for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we still get into it. But, you know, you've done a lot of podcasting, so.
Do you have a lot of people on that this is their first podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most people, yeah.
Mine too, and I think that's a lot of them.
And, like, musicians are like, and as you get in away from comedy, you'll probably experience that people are more. You'll get more of that. Like people are like, I've never been on a thing before.
Right.
You know, comedians just like, oh, there's a mic and I can just blah blah blah. Like, okay.
Yeah. That's me. That's me for sure. I'm like, where can I talk for 2 hours? Well, this new show, I do want just real quick. It's
plug it.
Mind Over Mike is the name. This I assume comes out soon, so hopefully I'll have some episodes out. I think July 1st is when I'm going to release the first one. We're going to have a mix of guests. I am a comic, and most of my life is that, so it'll be mostly comics. But I'm going to sprinkle some other folks in there. I've got a guy who went to federal prison for selling narcotics, turned his life around, owns a construction business. Great dude, family friend. I've got a guy who's the only private contractor in the country who fills in drug tunnels under the border with concrete. He's like worked with Border Patrol and all that stuff. Got that guy. Got the psychologist guy. Got like a weird mix. Got a friend of mine that's a director.
That's going to help your comedy more than just talking to comedians more.
I hope
you're going to get all these perspectives and ideas from those guys.
I hope so.
And go into your bits.
A lot of those guys I also know personally, so I have kind of an idea of how that conversation will go, you know, and I know the hits to lead them towards.
Well, I love that because I've had some like childhood friends on here because it doesn't have to be all comedians. And it's like at the end of the day, I have a video of like me talking to somebody I've loved for 40 years,
Yeah.
So that's cool just to have an excuse
Yeah.
to like chum it up with an old friend and
Absolutely.
capture it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
But that'll be, YouTube, Spotify, all that shit.
It's gonna be great.
Send
me, we'll link it down there in the description.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, just support comedy. That would be my only plug, honestly. It's like, if you see
Don't
a lot
bother
of
him to be on shows. Run your own fucking show.
Yeah, leave me alone. That's what I'm saying.
He'll reach out to you if he needs you.
He will.
And if you're a white dude, he doesn't need you.
Right. I got me. I got to be on every show. So there's one
Fair.
white dude on
That's
the
fair.
list. I'm on it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.